Summon Sign is brought to you by you. If you want to learn how to support our show, go to patreon.com/laststandmedia. Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 3 of Summon Sign, Last Stand Media's weekly in-depth gaming discussion podcast. I am your host, Brad Ellis, as always. Joining me this week is Gene Park of the Washington Post. How you doing, Gene?
Finally on the summon sign. I was able to catch a summon sign. I saw it on the ground, and I was able to press X. And now I'm in your game.
Yeah, hell yeah. Yeah, just for people who are confused, yes, it is a Souls reference. I saw some people were confused.
Do people not understand that it's a Souls reference? Oh my goodness.
I don't know. Some of them maybe didn't catch it right away, but a lot of them did, thankfully. But we'll train them, fear not. And Ben Smith, associate producer of Last Stand Media. What is up, Ben?
How's it going? Yeah, I don't understand that because like even people who don't play Souls games should know what a summon is. I don't know. Maybe I'm overestimating the average gamer's knowledge, but
you would think so. But
I'm happy to be here either way.
Yeah, who knows?
Maybe seeing the word summon sign like separately outside of the context of Souls just kind of breaks people's brain, and it's like, yeah. It's a summon sign, you know?
Yeah. Someone's like, "Are you summoning demons?" And I'm like, "No, not really."
People help always, us. At least.
Not always.
The whole point is that we're summoning for jolly cooperation, aren't
That's
we?
right. Yeah, exactly. Summoning LSM people around and whoever to talk games.
Although I will say, man, I would be so happy for a FromSoft game that just finally implements a seamless co-op.
Yeah, I'm not opposed to that because how co-op works in their games, Gene, it's not like new or surprising anymore. Mm-hmm. It's just kind of the same old thing. I mean, it's good and it's fine, but yeah, I'd kind of like to see them change that for me a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I know you're never supposed to tell the internet things that you hate, but with this show specifically, the name is Summon Sign, and I keep seeing people call it Summoning Sign or Summon Signs or Summoning Signs, and I'm like, it's not the name.
Yeah, it's not the name.
Now, I'm just gonna get bombarded now with people doing it intentionally to troll me. So
it's all right. We're all sun bros here summoning each other. It's a good time.
Sun bros. That's what we are here.
Yeah, we're sun bros.
Mm-hmm.
The first game we're going to talk about, Gene, we talked about this last week, but you have some thoughts you want to get out there. That is Metal Gear Solid 5: The Phantom Pain. What are you thinking? What do you got?
Yeah, I saw a lot of people celebrate Chris getting a Steam Deck because they're like, oh, he can finally play other video games besides his favorite games, which I totally empathize with him. You know, sometimes you just want to just play it. You just want to you just want the world to shut the fuck up, and you just want to play your favorite games.
Yeah.
And it turns out one of my favorite games has always been Metal Gear Solid 5. I was somebody who, like everybody, was disappointed with the story, especially when you find out, the quote unquote cut content or the so-called planned content that he had, especially for Eli, the child soldier Eli, aka Liquid Snake.
Mm-hmm.
Once you find out the storyboarded event and fight that they had planned for that content, you get really disappointed, and then you start seeing, what could have been. But jumping off what Chris said in the last episode, I really enjoyed the meta narrative of turning all my soldiers into just points of resource that I'm just clicking in and out of, and it'll feed back into my other point about Death Stranding, which we'll talk about later. But I just love Kojima menu interaction. I just love the way things go, like everything you do in a menu sounds like a laser gun,
Yeah.
And it always feels good. And so, I mean, Death Stranding is just is a half of that, but MG, you can already start to feel the beginnings of it in MGS5, and plus the fact that it's just such a wonderful sandbox. I didn't realize, but I had 400 hours logged in on PlayStation.
God.
For Metal Gear Solid 5. 400 hours of Metal Gear Solid 5,
That's
That's how much I
insane.
played it. I haven't even platinumed it at all. It's just me going back into Afghanistan and Zaire and fucking around with the soldiers. Unfortunately, I got to the point. If you don't know, in Metal Gear 5, there is a hidden morality meter. So the more people you actually just straight up murder and kill, the more quote unquote demon points you get. And if you get enough demon points and you get tens of thousands of demon points, it takes a long time for this to happen. But eventually, Snake will become extremely bloody. He's unwashable. You can't shower the blood off. And the horn on his head becomes really, really big and annoying looking. And unfortunately, I played myself to the point where I was just killing thousands and thousands of poor people. Because it feels good, man, because then you hit them in the leg and then they start hobbling and then, they start begging for their lives. All sorry to sound like an absolute sicko, but like all of that stuff is so fun. Like I love doing that at MGS2. MGS2 blew my mind when you can hit someone in the knee and they start hobbling along. Not enough games do that. After MGS2, other games started to be like, oh, you hit him in the leg. GoldenEye did that, for Christ's sake,
Mm-hmm.
So I always expected other games where when you hit them in the leg, they start hobbling along, and then video games just just didn't do that,
Yeah,
Or Far Cry games don't do that, and it's so weird.
that is true. That is weird. I wish people would bring that back. I didn't know about the demon points or whatever. Did they talk
Oh.
about it in the game or anything? I don't remember that at
It's
all.
not. Yeah. I don't think it's a feature that's explained at all in the game, and there's no meter. Like you can't fucking see it at all.
Okay.
It's so annoying. And the only way you can like remove demon points, I guess, is you can't even accumulate any other kind of points like heroic points or whatever like that. You have to remove demon points, and that includes like knocking people out, knocking goats out, and rescuing them. And the way you can remove it is there is a level where you fight again Eli, right? And
Right.
he's also surrounded by all these other child soldiers. Instead of course killing the kids, I don't think you can kill the kids, but you can tranquilize them. And so there is a whole field of children, about 20 or so children that you can run around and tranquilize or punch. And then you Fulton them out of there. And then when you Fulton the children out of there, then you're able to remove like 100 or 1,000 demon points. And you have to do that like a few dozen times to be able to finally remove the goddamn horn. So I haven't done that. But I was playing it on PC because I never finished MGS5 on PC. That's why. So I'm still demon free, and I actually have a mod that stops that whole mechanic from going on in PC, which is great. And also there's a mod that removes all demon points when you like extract one child. So you don't have to extract 1,000 children. You can just do it one time and you're good. And like my whole process is reset for years, which is nice.
Yeah. Do people still do the invasions in that game? Like the bases?
Yeah, I guess so. The online is still up, and it's still working, but I don't know if people do invasions or not. Up to a couple years ago, I was getting invaded. If people who don't know, you can build your own mother base in Metal Gear 5, and then there was a whole asymmetrical multiplayer point where you can invade other people's bases, and I guess just get them for resources, right?
Yeah.
And then so people were invading mine for a while, but I never really engaged with that whole game, the segment of the gameplay. I did play Metal Gear Online for a bit, and I think that's still up right now. But I haven't played it recently. I believe it's still up though. I believe even Metal Gear Online for Metal Gear Solid 4 is still up.
Really?
I don't know. I want to check.
Okay.
I want to check.
Man, I loved Metal Gear Online in 4. That was so fun.
It was fun. Yeah. You got all kinds of gear.
Yeah, so good. Ben, do you have history with Metal Gear? Have you played 5?
No. As a matter of fact, I know this is going to revoke my gamer card for a lot of people. I've only ever played Metal Gear Solid 1.
Oh, well, you've played 1, so...
Yeah. I've played one of them.
And it wasn't then your gamer card is pretty secure.
It's
if you
intact.
at least play one, then it's like, okay, well,
I think that's the most important one to play.
It is the most important one to play.
And I didn't... The rest of them I haven't played... Well, first of all, I think when the second one came out, I was young enough, didn't have a job, whatever, that I couldn't buy it. And I don't know that was it. I might have been I was probably more into other games at that point. And then it's one of those things where like I'm not going to pick it up with 3 or 4, and I've just never gone back. But I have access to play all of them. So at some point, I will dive back in, play the first one again. But no, I don't have any. I watched a lot of the multiplayer for 5 because there was a streamer that I liked playing it at the time. But I've never experienced the game other than that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I wonder. It makes me curious about what is it? Metal Gear Solid Delta, the Snake Eater one.
Yeah.
I wonder, like, people re-examining Metal Gear Solid games once that comes out.
I wonder about Metal Gear Solid Delta because it looks a little bit like 5. So I wonder if we're going to get like a Metal Gear Solid Twin Snake situation. And you know how in Twin Snakes, when they remade Part 1, but they added the first-person camera and the ability to first-person shoot, which is the attack of MGS2. And it basically broke MGS1 and made it way too easy because the game was not designed around you being able to shoot in first person.
Right.
And so giving you that ability basically turns you into a god in MGS1. So I wonder if you just tacked on MGS5 gameplay mechanics into MGS3, that would also break MGS3 similarly because those level designs are meant to be played from a top-down perspective. They already kind of broke once they did Subsistence.
Yeah,
they had a different camera system. But now, if you're able to just press L2 and then R2 and then play like you're fucking Leon Kennedy in Afghanistan or in Grozny Grad, imagine if Leon Kennedy was doing the virtuous mission, then it'll be a cinch, So,
yeah, totally.
Yeah.
What are your? I haven't played 5 Gene since it came out. What do you think about Skullface?
I loved Skullface. I feel like he was a wasted villain in 5.
Okay, that's kind of what I felt like too.
He was so sick. His voice acting was so cool, and you want to hate him. And he has a cool motivation about feeling like he was colonized because his language was removed. So his whole goal, I guess, spoilers, from MGS5, it's not really a big deal. But his whole goal is basically to kill every single person who speaks English. So he was going to create a bomb, which is a wacky idea.
It's Metal Gear.
Yeah, it's Metal Gear. I was like, yeah, sure, I'll go with it. Sure, that's totally possible. I think, so it's a fascinating idea, but in the way they executed him, you don't even get a boss fight with him, which sucks.
Oh yeah, I forgot you don't fight him actually. I thought he was with like the Metal Gear.
You don't even fight him in the Metal Gear. That's not even him in the Metal Gear. Spoiler alert. That's actually Liquid controlling Metal Gear through Psycho Mantis.
Oh yeah! Oh my god!
Yeah.
I forgot about all that stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Because that's what Skullface says when he says such a lust for revenge. He's actually marveling at the lust for revenge that Liquid Snake has for Big Boss that was able to overcome the revenge that Vogan's dead body had for Big Boss. Liquid hates him that much more, So that's why he was able to control a robot, which is awesome.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, it's awesome, dude. Metal Gear is insane.
But it's also really, really stupid. And like I really wish Skullface, because Skullface was so fucking cool in Ground Zeroes, wasn't he?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he was. Ground Zeroes was. I like Ground Zeroes.
Ground Zeroes was amazing.
Yeah, that was really fun.
Yeah.
Weird experiment, but cool at the same time. All right, enough Metal Gear. Let's move on to The Last of Us Part 2 Remastered. Gene, you've been playing this. The most celebrated game that everyone unanimously loves. No controversy whatsoever.
No one has any problems with any issues about any characters.
No problems whatsoever.
Story beats in that game, or the director whatsoever.
Yeah, but they've made some additions to this game that I think are really interesting. But I'll let you take it from here. Just see where you go.
Yeah, I mean, what is there to say? I will start with the graphical improvements. Man, it's really hard to tell. It's really hard to tell.
Yeah, for sure.
It absolutely looks better. And granted, I haven't played like all of The Last of Us Part 2, but you don't need to play a lot of The Last of Us Part 2 to know how good it looks. Last of Us Part 2 looked amazing from the first second you started the game, right? Just with that first monologue with Joel and everything. It looks great. It looks a lot clearer. But really the jump from Last of Us Part 2 PS4 to PS5 is so tiny.
Yeah, I think probably for like most of us who aren't like graphics aficionados, like in the industry people kind of thing, I'm sure they'll notice it more. But for us, especially because they did the patch for the PS4 version on PS5, it's going to be harder for us to tell maybe. But
it's already 60 FPS 1440p on the PS4 Pro, the PS5 patch for PS4.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. And then so I played in 60 FPS. I'm like, yeah, it looks clearer. But this is the same game. The LOD it does go out further. I definitely do see more grass, but gosh, it really is just basically turning the game from high to ultra high. That's pretty much it.
Yeah. Let's talk about some of the new features they added, though, Gene. They added. We'll start with. This is what I'm really interested about. This is this cut content they've added to the game. These levels that weren't finished for the game. What are those? Like, how in depth are they, or are they still unfinished?
Yeah, I saw that we got some questions about that, and I did dive a little bit into the content. I don't want to spoil too much, but I will say that there isn't too much to spoil. The cut content there is relatively short, and they do say we removed this because it was too boring. And then so you play it. Neil says we do. The first piece of cut content is Ellie at the diner hall, right? And this is supposed to be a flashback of Ellie being back with Jackson. Everything's fine, and this was supposed to be the scene where Ellie is trying to get herself drunk to talk to Dina because she has such a big crush on Dina. It's actually a fun little. You know that part in Spider-Man 2 that everyone fucking complained about the when Peter and MJ and Harry all go to the carnival.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
they're all playing the carnival games, right?
And then, I liked that part.
Yeah, I mean, like some people like it, some people complain about it.
I know. People just want to be Spider-Man, and I totally get that.
Exactly, right? So that's that part in The Last of Us part.
Okay. That's funny.
There's a whole bunch of festival games around that, like outside the barn, and then so Ellie's participating in throwing the ball to hit all the cups down, and then you get a prize. And the fun thing is that the prize you get for that game is actually a prize that she gives to her baby, Jesse's baby, at the end of the game.
Oh, okay.
And, it's the elephant that you're trying to get for the baby or whatever. So that ties back into that. So this is supposed to be a flashback in the ending in the game. When
it'd be the end of the game.
Yeah, this is after that. This is after the whole Ellie and Abby. Spoilers for The Last of Us 2, I guess, right?
I don't know about that. That's crazy.
Yeah,
we'll throw them up.
Gene's getting it's.
You've been warned. Go ahead, Gene.
Yeah, but I mean, it's hard to talk about this without.
Because I think everyone knows.
Anybody who wants to know has played it.
Yeah, because all of the cut content has to do with like the whole story of The Last of Us 2, right? So so then you're going around this little festival area and you're just doing little interactions, and then Ellie isn't like fully animated. So the cool thing though is that there is one part where she has to mix her own drink. And the UI and the mechanics for that is exactly the same thing as a crafting table.
Oh, really? That's cool.
Yeah, so they actually make a callback to, like, oh, remember when Ellie's been crafting guns the whole time? Well, what if she used her skills as a bartender, So it's pretty cute. And then she mixes, and then you get to choose what drink she mixes to you. And then so she drinks that, and then she's getting drunk on that. And then she goes in the bar and then it ends. So it's really the whole sequence. Like you can end it. You can finish the whole sequence in like 30 seconds, or you can decide to like marinate in it and spend time and play the games and like look at the atmosphere. There's a whole bunch of games that the kids are playing that they didn't really get to use in the rest of the story content. So that's pretty much like what it is. You get to walk through this fairly halfway finish level with a not quite finished Ellie making not quite finished interactions, and that's pretty much it. It's just and then Neil says that we cut it because we felt like that killed the pacing too much, because then that was after the quote unquote final boss of the game, and you're trying to get to the ending, and then like you have to do all this, and then there's more, and then if you know the sequence of The Last of Us 2 at the end, there's more to do after that, so it's like, okay, well, we'll just kill all that
Yeah.
then. So
I'm glad to hear that the cut
fun.
content isn't too much, because one of the only complaints I have about the game is that it's a little long, and I was like thinking, if they add more in this, is it just going to drag it out more? So I'm glad to hear that it's, at least sounds like it's somewhat optional and somewhat not that long.
It's totally optional. It's only it's only tucked away in the option section, and there's only three. There's only three of them, and they're they're very, very short. They come with a short clip of Neo explaining why they cut it.
Oh,
and
cool.
it's all this is boring. And then you play the sequence, and you're like, I'm glad they didn't put this part in the game. So it's like you play it, and you don't really feel, as someone who is really learned in terms of looking at game design, like I don't feel like I really learned anything from it, other than they cut the boring part out,
Right.
But it is interesting to be able to play something and see like, oh, they really did put a lot of effort into this. And then they eventually realize, okay, this is more work than it needs to be, and we just kind of gonna have to leave it on the cutting room floor,
I think it's a cool idea to include this. I don't know if many games that include like cut content at all, and I think it's really interesting just to see, because you hear about cut content in games all the time and stuff like that, but then for them to like put it in the game and just say like boldly, hey, this is boring, so we just didn't include it, is something I'm really into, and I would love to see more developers do this.
It is fun to find out what was boring about it, And then, so there's a little word balloons that you walk around in an environment, and you press triangle, and then like one of the game designers will pop in and say, oh, this is our idea for this one, or this is this is supposed to be reflective of this moment later on in the game, blah blah blah. So, but these are like huge story moments that I think were really cut though too. So
so you talk about developer commentary as you're playing through this. There's some throughout the full game too. Is that correct?
Yeah, there is. I haven't done that.
Mess with it. Okay, I'm curious about that. That sounds really cool, actually, to get some insight in that game.
It is cool.
It's an intense ass game for that, but
I think it'll be a good reason to replay the game again, especially if you really like it. If you fucking hate The Last of Us Part 2, then why the fuck are you listening to this, right?
You're not. This isn't for you.
There is nothing for you here. There is nothing for you here. If you hate The Last of Us Part 2 and you couldn't stand to hear more about this game, then don't. You have no reason to play this. But
let's talk about also the roguelite mode they added. Tell me about this.
Yes, the roguelite mode. It's called, quote unquote, No Return. No Return is a fascinating little thing, especially coming out so soon after God of War Ragnarok Valhalla, which was free. I'll say right at the top, God of War Ragnarok Valhalla is a better piece of content than No Return.
This is what I've heard. Yes,
I was. So it'll definitely raise questions about why Valhalla wasn't paid content and why this is. That said, I'm not going to say that there's no effort put into No Return. No Return is actually a lot of fun. And I actually, my review for this, the headline is a little spicy, but I actually called my story Last of Us Part 2 Remastered and Dehumanized. And I actually, it sounds negative, but I actually mean it in a fun way. What if you strip all of the characters, the character arcs, the character history, the emotion, the relationships of all these characters have away, and they just become action figures, and you want to bash them against the monster action figures in The Last of Us digital playground playset. It's fun. It's fun.
It sounds really cool to me. It's like if anytime like they add an arcadey mode or something like in a game like this, I'm always interested in it. And for The Last of Us, what you said is a very serious story driven game, just to let you kind of cut loose and have fun. Sounds really appealing to me.
Yeah. So you start off with two characters, basically quote unquote two teams. There is the Ellie side and the Abby side. So there is also the Ellie side of characters you can unlock, and the Abby side of characters, and also the Ellie side and Abby side of like different mods that you unlock as you progress towards each of those different sides. So the more you play Ellie, then you play Ellie 3 times, and you'll be able to unlock Dina, the ability to play Dina. Then you play Dina 3 times, and you'll be able to unlock Jesse. And then Tommy, and then Joel is playable. Joel is the ultimate reward on the Ellie side. And if people who wanted Last of Us Part One remake to be to implement Last of Us Part Two mechanics and to be able to have Joel dive over, and they couldn't do that for Part One. Here it is. Here's diving Joel and Joel Miller in Part Two. And it's awesome. It's awesome to be able to haul ass at Joel with his big ass boots and his long hair and his big brown jacket, and you're just taking revenge on Seattle wolfites, and you're just beating the shit out of them in Seattle. And he's just diving all over the place with his bolt action rifles and his fucking semi-automatic guns. It's awesome.
Yeah, that's
you get to play Joel, and then you get to murder everybody.
Yeah,
that's what the game gives you. When you start off No Return, you start off in what is either an Ellie side of the room or the Abby side of the room, and it's just one room. Where there, and then you see the board where you can see the two different paths you can take, and then there's a weapons locker, and you get as you play the game, you get bolts. I'll say for better or worse, using the Ratchet and Clank,
some sort of currency.
Yeah, the currency to be able to buy different guns. And then you can either choose the guns that the game gives you, or you can spend 3 bolts to re-roll for basically other types of guns or other types of gear that you can spend money on. And then you can go to the crafting bench, and then you get your other resources that you've gathered throughout the game, and then you can upgrade your guns, basically, whether you're removing weapon sway or the shotgun damage, that kind of stuff. And then you basically go to the planning board, and you pick your level, and then you go straight away to the level. So it's very kind of claustrophobic in between, where you're really just stuck in this room, and then you're just let out into this playing field. And then each battle is a different type of battle. Initially, you get it's basically a horde mode, where you either fight 3 waves of enemies, or there's a time limit, and you're basically trying to kill as many as you can, or you're trying to survive as much as you can. And as you're playing, you're going to be unlocking different game types and different enemy types too. So your reward is basically, the more you play, the more diverse No Return becomes eventually.
Okay.
And eventually there's all kinds of the weird enemies being thrown into you. Different runs, and then you unlock all the characters. You can unlock on the Abby side. You unlock Mel, and then
look, Manny probably.
Yeah. Manny is actually the ultimate reward on the Abby side, which is funny.
That is funny.
It's really, really funny. The guy who really likes to eat burritos, I guess.
Yeah,
which is such like a weird thing to specify in Last of Us, but like to make him like, oh, this Mexican guy, he really loves burritos and he loves anime.
They're probably just trying to make them likable or something, or relatable.
Yeah. But yeah, he's the ultimate reward on the Abby side. You can also unlock Yara for all 5 people in the world that really wanted to play as Yara. Here's your chance. You get to play as Lev, which is awesome. I'm sure there's a ton of people who actually wanted to play as Lev, and that's awesome. You get to play as Lev, and you get to basically go on a revenge quest and kill every single transphobic cultist member out there. It's awesome.
Yeah. So you were talking about some of the progression, I guess, like upgrading your weapons and stuff through runs. Is there any of that that's permanent, or is it strictly just based on runs? Okay.
No, it's just based on runs. That's it.
Okay. And some of these enemies they add later on is cool. I like the idea that. Is there any like effects on the map that happen randomly or stuff like that?
Yes, there are different effects. Sometimes it's totally fucked, but sometimes the clickers will be invisible.
Oh my god!
So like you got to deal with that. Sometimes there'll be fog on the battlefield. So there'll be like different. There might be different effects on the battlefield. They might even fuck with the filters. Like, oh, this time you have the comic filter on, so we'll deal with that this time. So there's some variety, and then again, you get to choose which kind of like modification you can kind of go down to as you're choosing which path you go to. But yeah,
cool,
good question, definitely.
Cool. Did you play as Tommy?
I did play as Tommy. It's awesome.
Tell me about Tommy. I love Tommy.
Yeah, I mean,
what does he got?
So each character starts off. Each character is a class, basically. So Ellie is like your all-around class, and Dina is what is Dina? I don't know, but Tommy is your sniper.
Okay, yeah.
So
that makes sense.
So Tommy starts off with the sniper gun, and then if you want to unlock more, then you basically have to beat the first run and then try to unlock like a pistol or whatever in the next run, and hopefully you get it as unlockable. If not, then you're gonna have to wait and just deal with the sniper rifle, or you deal with the bottles, or just you're dealing with you have different melee weapons, you can use that too. But yeah, I mean, Tommy and Joel, it's cool to run around as Tommy again, and just I felt like I was on a vengeance quest. Or you get to play as Tommy and Jackson, it's like you're defending Jackson from the clickers or whatever, or from Seattleites, because Seattle folks will just show up in Jackson too. It's just whatever,
I was thinking it'd be cool if they added multiplayer or like 2-player co-op to this mode or anything like that.
Yeah,
I wonder if it just wouldn't have really worked or whatever, how they designed it.
Yeah.
Especially with no more factions.
Exactly. That's the thing about no return, is that when you play it, you see all these like item boxes around the map, and you see how they were able to kind of repurpose the map into different, like Jackson, turning Jackson into a combat arena. And you're like, I can see the bones of factions too here. I can see like, oh, they were this item box asset was clearly supposed to be an item like a universal item box asset for all players or whatever, like that, in the safe house or whatever, and we're just not going to get that anymore.
Yeah. Alas, it's not going to happen. Ben.
So that they basically they just redo Jackson again instead.
Yeah. Ben, are you into this? Are you going to play this?
Yeah, I'm definitely going to play it. When they announced that they were going to remaster it so soon, I was like, I don't know. I love The Last of Us 2. Sorry, I got a little scratchy throat. But I didn't know if I don't know if I'm ever ready to play Last of Us 2 again. I loved it. But it's such a heavy game.
It is.
That I don't know if I'm ever going to go back to it. Probably eventually I will, probably before the third one.
I skip a lot of cutscenes when I replay it. So,
yeah.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. I knew that that eventually it's going to happen, but I am interested in this mode, and I know we talked about the difference between God of War and this. One's free, one's $10. One's better,
this one has
free,
no story whatsoever. There's no pretense about story. Right. There's no like, oh, this is the setup for the no rogue mode and no return mode, and this is why our players are doing this. No, they don't give a shit about that. Like, divorce of all context. It's just Joel here for no reason, finding a bunch of people here for no reason. Right. That's it. So.
But yeah, for $10 to play this extra mode for a game I love, I'm definitely in. I'm interested in anything Last of Us, and specifically anything Naughty Dog does. I've always been a fan of. So I'll definitely check it out for $10.
I will say unlocking all of it will probably take about 8 to 12 hours. So for $10, so like for $10, because each run will probably run you about like maybe 45 minutes to an hour. And then so if you're unlocking every character, then that's probably like a good like solid 8 to 10 hours right there.
Yeah.
And then you're just playing the game for fun, So
yeah, that's cool.
Imagine playing a game for fun.
Yeah, exactly. Because I unlocked everything, right? And I was like, okay, well, there's nothing much to do. Why don't I just play the mode for fun? And the great thing is that on the accessibility tip, you can use all the gameplay modifiers that the regular game uses. So you can turn the game slow mo. You can make everyone's aim garbage. Blah blah blah. It's pretty rad. You can turn infinite ammo on. You're not gonna get like you're not gonna be able to win challenges or unlock characters that way.
Yeah.
But if you really just want to play a mode, a roguelike mode with just all infinite ammo, and just have Joel go fucking ham on these people, then the option is there for you too.
Are there trophies for the mode?
I believe so, but I've turned my trophies off.
That's not important to me, but I know some people are.
That's a good question.
We're asking for Colin. We're asking for Colin.
Basically asking for Colin,
asking for a friend. Yeah.
There has to be.
Yeah, Ben, I think I'm in the same boat as you about Last of Us Part 2. Really, I have problems with the story Last of Us Part 2, but I thought it was a really great game.
Sure. Yeah.
But it was just so goddamn heavy. And I was like, all right, I won't play this until Part 3 comes out again.
Yep. Yeah.
But the roguelite mode sounds fun to me. I'm really curious about this cut content stuff. So I think it's a pretty good value to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's worth the $10 upgrade. Thank goodness that they made it a $10 upgrade.
Yeah,
because if it was anything else, then right now everything I would be saying would be in a much harsher light. You know.
Yeah, if it was like $20, it'd be like maybe.
Even if it was $20, if it was $20, even then I would be like, that might be pushing it.
Yeah,
$10 I think is the sweet spot. Even then, whether I'm questioning Valhalla or not, but then there is a cut content, there is a developer commentary, and of course there are the better graphics for the base game.
Yeah, there's absolutely effort put into this thing. Like they spent time doing all this stuff. So yeah, I have no problem with people getting paid for the work they do.
Mm-hmm.
Can you check out the developer commentary on the main game without playing, or is it only available like while you're playing it?
I think it's only available while you're playing it. So.
See, that stinks. I used to do a lot of like director commentaries and everything on movies, and like listen to them talk over the movie instead after I'd seen the movie before. And I love that kind of stuff, and I love watching interviews and just seeing how the sausage gets made. But I don't want to have to play 30 hours to hear a few snippets of commentary.
You're right.
I don't know.
You're right. In that case, I would just watch the YouTube because someone inevitably will upload the YouTube. I did that for Alan Wake Remastered because I just beat Alan Wake Remastered, and then I was like, I want to do developer commentary, but I just played this game, right? But I want to hear the developer commentary now. I just don't want to play the game again now. So I just went on YouTube and I was like, oh, okay, well, here it all is. I can just enjoy that for what it is.
Totally, that's what I was going to say. Just wait for a YouTube video.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's like really awkward, at least in the movies. A lot of times it was really awkward because there'd be like a really heavy scene and the commentators are just like cracking up. And I can just imagine a really dramatic, couple specific dramatic moments in part 2. And they're just like telling jokes or something. But anyway,
yeah. They actually just patched the game right now to add the trailer for their documentary that they're going to show.
Oh, nice.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that. Do you know when that comes out?
Grounded 2. Let me look at it right now, but I think it's gonna come out tomorrow.
Oh wow!
I'll
have to watch
along
that.
with the release, I guess. Yeah,
I love when developers do stuff like that. I need to watch that Double Fine one, but it's like 30 hours or something.
Yeah, it just says stay tuned for Naughty Dog social accounts to when to expect the full documentary.
Okay. So
maybe
when the game drops,
time with the launch of the game. It has to be.
Yeah.
It'll be a really good companion. I'm actually looking more forward to the documentary because again, the stuff you get in the cut content section, really, really fast. Just basically like less than a minute of Neil saying, "Yeah, this part was boring. Okay, I hope you enjoy." Neil, it's also funny because the game goes overboard to remind you this is an unfinished content. Like they really, really think because we are stupid, but they really, really assume that gamers are fucking idiots.
Yes,
because it says on each level, on each piece of content in big bold red letters, this is unfinished. We didn't finish it. And then Neil says it over again, introducing it. He's like, reminder, this isn't finished. We didn't put voices or animation or blah, blah, blah. It's like, I guess
people
really
are dumb.
Yeah, because we are idiots.
People would run a mile with stuff like that. People are so dumb.
Yeah.
We got a write-in from Cypress Davis. Hey guys, with The Last of Us Part 2's remaster finally dropping this week, is it safe to say that this is one of, if not the most divisive games ever? The amount of times I see people debating the direction of the story is wild. Do you think the negative side of the reception wouldn't be as strong if it had not leaked prior to the original launch? I, for one, think it's an absolute masterpiece and can't wait to jump into it all over again. Welcome to the LSM family, Brad, and thank you for all you guys do. Yes, I would say this is easily one of the most divisive games of all time. It was so brutal when this game was coming out. I unfortunately got spoiled on something like randomly in a Twitch stream. The Joel thing I got spoiled on. I was like, dude, come on. And it did, it did make the game less impactful for me. Definitely when I knew all that kind of stuff happening. What do you guys think?
I was able to avoid most of the stuff before playing it. And I did see, so without giving the specifics, of course, because I know there are still some new people to the game, but
sure.
I saw one of the main divisive points in the game. I saw spoilers that said two things about it, and they were the opposite. So I knew that one of them probably happened, but I didn't know which one.
Oh,
So it was still the biggest thing for me was still a surprise. So, but I definitely think it's one of the more divisive games, and I really don't know. You know, there's so many things that could be because of, and maybe it's a combination of all of them. But after playing it, I'm like, well, I have critiques, but none of them are like what people are upset about.
Yeah.
It's like my critiques are like, well, I didn't really like this gameplay section, and I didn't love that, you know, the way that the actual order of things went, and it was a little long, but it was phenomenal. Like I liked it, but yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, I think people definitely, when some of the leaks got out there, and, you know, people didn't have the full, you know, they didn't see the whole scenes or anything like that. They definitely wrote the game off pretty quickly.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like up to them if they want to do that kind of stuff. But I definitely think the leak hurt this game to an extent. I don't know how much, but I think it did a little, somewhat.
Yeah. I know the sales were definitely softer than I would have expected. At least the initial sales.
So
still great sales, but
yeah, you see that you see this the sales from the leaked information, which I think we already knew. I think we already knew that Last of Us sold like over 20 million, and Part 2 sold like just right at 10 million. You know, just under.
Yeah.
That's why, like, when the GTA 6 leaks happened, people were saying, "Oh, this is the most damaging leak I think in the history of games or whatever," because look at how much leaked out. And yeah, sure, like, you know, and obviously more leaked of Wolverine, I think, than even The Last of Us Part 2.
Yeah, people were playing Wolverine.
Because people are literally fucking playing Wolverine, which is so crazy. But I think with The Last of Us Part 2, I still contend that is the most damaging leak, because it told the most important part of the story.
right.
And it ruined the most important part of the story for so many people. I purposely look for the leak. So I spoiled myself on everything that was available from the leaks before I played The Last of Us Part 2.
You're a monster.
And I was surprised to find that I still really, really love the game. Yeah, I definitely believe, because you still see it in forums. I'm still arguing with people on Reddit to this day. People saying that you know, like, I saw it on YouTube and they ruined it, blah blah blah. And I keep arguing with people, like, you have to play the game to understand the story. You know, even if you know what happens, a video game is not a series of plot beats that you understand and you just take in. You have to play the game. If it's still, you know, you already fucked it up for yourself by understanding plot points. But you know, it could still work if you play the game, because playing a video game makes it a completely different experience. This is video games. You have to play them. That's it.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Watching something on YouTube and playing it yourself are not the same things at all.
Yeah. I really hate spoilers in general, but I'm much more accepting to spoilers that I get before the game's even out or in my hands. I've had a couple games spoiled for me while I was playing them, and that hurts.
That sucks, dude.
Yeah. Oh man, that sucks.
But the beforehand, I don't like that either. But you're right. It's better than doing it like when you're 2 chapters away from that thing happening, and you're like,
oh god,
that happened to me with God of War, and the pivotal moment on the canoe. I was playing it, and I was so good. Man, I was so good about having a God of War blackout. I didn't even watch the E3 trailer announcement for the hype trailer. I had no idea other than that it was going to be in a new perspective. And then when I was playing the game, I was loving it. And then I went on YouTube to watch like a trailer, and then like the next thing you know, the thumbnail spoiled like the big moment.
No.
Like, oh my god! Like, I hate everything about this media ecosystem. You know, and this is 2018, man. This is like 6 years ago. You know.
Yeah, dude, it's brutal. Anyways. But Last of Us Part 2 remastered coming next week, I think, from us when we're recording. Excited to check it out. Okay, dudes, let's move on to the next game. That is Granblue Fantasy Relink, the demo. So the demo came out, and I've been curious about this game. Gene, I'm sure you've been curious about this too, just because of the development cycle for this whole game. It's been like 6 years, I think, since they announced it. And originally Platinum was attached to it, and now it's fully made by Psy Games. Granblue is a huge gacha franchise also. I don't know if it's here. It probably is here. You could probably play it here, but it's a huge franchise. They got 2 fighting games, which I played one of the fighting games. It was pretty fun at the time, but I have no idea who any of these characters are, and I still don't really have any idea who these characters are. But I had a good time with this demo, guys. I thought it was pretty fun. Now, it's not like I wouldn't say, like revolutionary RPG, JRPG or anything like that, but it was solid, dude. So just for the demo came in 3 parts. There was a tutorial, single player, and multiplayer. We'll just go through as they do. The tutorial, of course, self-explanatory, explains the whole game. There's quite a bit you can do in this game mechanically. You got your basic attacks, you got your heavier kind of style attacks, the triangle and all that stuff. Holding down the R1 button has like a face button moves, kind of like you think of Remake or whatever, and you can see your moves right there. You have like 4, you can do all that stuff. So all your characters have those moves. People have stagger gauges you can break and stuff like that. Really fun stuff. But there's also a lot of different characters you can play as throughout this thing. So the main character you start with in the training is named Gran, who is kind of like the face of the game, I guess. And he also plays in the single player. But in multiplayer, you can play as, like, I think there's 10 other characters you can play as. And they all have kind of like their own unique mechanics for you to mess around with. So Gran, like, for example, Gran is kind of this all-around character. He's got damaging things, like a move where you can reduce their armor, and he's got a heal he can put down. But there's a character I liked. His name was Siegfried. He was this knight with like a big 2-handed slow sword, and he had this cool mechanic where if you attack at good timing, your timing attacks are really good. He'll just do more damage and stuff like that. And he also had like a sweet little parry. There's also this like really tiny, like elf girl, like very tiny. She has like a big crown on. If you played the fighting games, you know her name's Charlotte. She has like a huge sword, but she could like do really fast, rapid slashes. You could just keep going
that's
for
where
a long
Charlotte
time.
is from? Okay.
Yeah, she's from Granblue.
Okay.
And she can like do crazy air attacks and all that kind of stuff. So she was fun. But for the single player, is basically I don't know how the structure of the game is going to be necessarily. I don't know if it's going to be mission based or if it's just going to be kind of more open and you go as you go. But it seemed like a story mission based kind of thing where it might load you into a zone or something like that. I'm not sure, but it was this big green area of these islands floating in the sky. Kind of reminded me of Genshin Impact a little bit, just wandering around, how the way everything looked and the colors. I will say right off the bat, this game ran very good, especially when you're doing moves with everyone, like shit is popping off. There's crazy stuff going on, but it ran good. Even in multiplayer, I was playing with Dustin on the online thing and we were going crazy and ran perfectly smooth. But pretty much for this single player thing, there's a whole story going on. I don't really understand the story because I don't know anything about Granblue, and you're just kind of thrown in without a lot leading you into it. But you're running through there, you have these party members with you, and they can just act on their own, fight, and do stuff like that. But they will do some like combos with you if you set up stuff. So for instance, like if enemies have a stagger gauge and you break it, it opens them up to this attack where you use a circle button, and like people can hit them from wherever they are on the map, or if they're close, you can leap really far to them, which is fun. And everyone has like a meter themselves they build up, and it kind of does like a devil trigger all out attack kind of thing like that. You'll do a strong attack. But if your party members do it with you also, like in a time limit after you do them, like if all 4 people do it, then it'll do like a super crazy attack like that. So there's synergy between you and your party members landing those together. That also carries it in the multiplayer, which is really fun. Like me and Dustin were doing it, and so like he would do his and I would do mine. We get some really sick damage combos at the end of it, all that. But the single player mission was mostly just running through this really pretty, like calm and beautiful area and killing goblins, which just classic monsters to kill. I love all that shit. You rescuing some people, then you eventually get to like an arena, and there's like a big giant goblin boss, and he was pretty fun to fight. There's like Final Fantasy XIV markers on the floor, so you can like see where not to stand and all that kind of stuff. But I had a good time with the combat. It was fast. It's not Devil May Cry or anything like that. Like I don't think that's fair to even assume it's going to be anything like that.
It's not like Final Fantasy 16.
No, it's more similar to 16, but it doesn't seem Well, I don't know, Gene, because a lot of the characters play different. So maybe because, in 16, you have all the icon abilities of Clive and you can just kind of mess with them. More 16 in the way, though. Because, I wasn't like juggling people in the air with pistols and doing crazy, like insane combos, I guess, like that. But it's fast. There's a lot of moves you can do. You can chain a lot of attacks together, which is cool. So there's some room for depth there. Of course, you can block and dodge, all that good stuff. But I had a good time doing it. The multiplayer, it reminded me a lot of Monster Hunter. So what it would do is it would just drop, like it was me and Dustin, it just dropped us in this really jolly town. Really nice, very pleasant to be on. There's like NPCs running around. It's pretty big, but there was nothing to interact with except for this quest hub that you would get your quests from. I don't know if that'll be different in the main game. I hope it is, because the area is pretty cool to explore through. But basically, you have a quest board like Monster Hunter, and you accept missions. The first one was just killing random trash mobs and stuff like that. You get rewards for doing it. The second one was more of like a lizard boss. He was rolling around, and me and Dustin were joking. We're like, oh, this is exactly like Monster Hunter right now, which is a good thing for us. And he was fun to take down. Then the third one was just this big rock guy who would do cool like AoE abilities you'd have to dodge, and he would summon these ads that you could destroy. And when you destroy them, you get like an item you could throw at the boss to do a lot of damage. And he was hitting a lot harder. So there's going to be multiple difficulties I think you can take on. And of course, depending on how you do, you get ranked at the end. And I think the better rank you get, the better rewards. Additionally, with all your characters, you can customize like the moves you want them to have in their 4 slots. You can't have everything equipped at once. And they also have passives you can equip to them. Like 3 passives, like so you could put like increased health, increased damage, increased crit. I think one of them was like the hold threat or something like that, so you can build your character out a little more. Like if you have a party and you're like, I want this character to focus on healing more because I want to heal everybody, or I want to maybe be able to tank this guy better so everyone else can just DPS. So they leave room for all that kind of stuff. But I had a really good time with this demo. I'm going to definitely play it day one. I'm very excited for it. I don't know how it's going to turn out, but the demo was promising, especially because this game has had such a long development. I had no idea, what it was going to turn out to be, if it was going to be terrible or anything like that. But I think it seems promising. And I think it's a good start to the JRPG wave we're about to get hit with, the tsunami. All right.
You convinced me to download the demo.
Yeah, the demo.
Yeah, me too.
You just try it out.
I literally just did it on the app right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. This has been on my radar for a while. But I'm not familiar with the franchise at all. But I was kind of disappointed with Tales of Arise.
So I think this is like, it kind of reminds me of Tales of Arise, Gene, but the combat's just better to me.
Yeah. I didn't. The combat for Tales of Arise didn't like blow me away, and also I just didn't vibe with the story at all. I was just like, I'm out. I'm out immediately. So it's fine.
But yeah, I mean, we're in a good age right now, I'd say, where we're getting demos again for a lot of games, and I really appreciate that. The Snack
Squatch for this looks amazing too. So that's
it looks really nice in motion and it runs good. So yeah, it's good.
Also, I'm not against gacha games. I was a huge Genshin Impact person for like a good year or so. So.
Yeah, I don't know if this has like gacha in the sense of like you paying for stuff, because it's a full price game. So I don't know if Granblue is the original one, but I don't know about this game or anything like that. I haven't seen any hints of that, so I kind of hope not. But I guess we'll see when the game comes out.
Yeah, I'll check it out. Yeah, you're right though, that this is coming in like a tsunami of JRPG right now. I'm lucky. Sadly, I wish I could talk about Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth for this podcast, but sadly, this is like before the embargo. I did beat it.
Very nice.
So I'm glad that I can that I'll probably have time, but I think pretty soon I'm probably going to be on the Rebirth tip pretty soon.
Yeah, Rebirth's coming up. Obviously, that's priority number one for all of us.
Yeah, Rebirth is priority number one above like all else in at least in terms of video game content right now. So
this comes out February 1st, I believe, and annoyingly, Persona 3 Reload comes out I think the day after. So I'm very frustrated, but I'll play this first because I have played Persona 3 before.
See,
but I know it's a
I
remake.
never played Persona 3. So
Yeah,
I'm actually,
Persona 3 is excellent. So
I hear it's excellent. So exactly. So
yeah,
like,
so
it's
if
like, I
people
missed out on
choose
this
Persona
one.
3, yeah, it makes total sense to me.
Yeah, I mean, I missed out on that one, and I still need to finish 5. And I told Dustin, I promised Dustin I was going to finish 5, and I still haven't.
It's a long game, but I
It's a
love
long
it.
game.
Are you
Honestly,
playing Royal or just normal?
it's Royal. Well,
Okay.
I started regular 5, and then it came out Royal. I was like, well, I guess I got to start all over again. And I
Yeah,
started Royal,
yeah,
and then I just haven't. I'm halfway through it. I'm 50 hours in.
Okay, cool.
I just think that I'm just not sure I love the characters as much, which is why I think after 8 years, I think I figured out that I don't like the characters as much, and that's why it's taking me so long.
Yeah, that's
taking me
fair.
so long to get through. So
a cast is super important to a long
really
game
is,
to keep you invested. Yeah, and if you're not clicking with them, yeah, it could be a problem.
Yeah.
The Snack Squatch wrote in about Granblue. Hey guys, I gotta say that Granblue demo was pretty darn good. The combat felt great. The graphics and art style are beautiful. Is this game getting slept on because of Rebirth? I wasn't too big on FS7 Remake, so I might hold off on Rebirth now that Granblue really did it for me. Thanks for all that you do. Yeah, I saw actually a couple comments in our submission post about like a lot of people not as into 7 Remake as I thought, or stuff like that. I mean,
feel that. I feel that.
I get it. I totally get it. Yeah, because it's different, and like a lot of people, especially who grew up with the older Final Fantasies, I understand that.
I am 1,000% empathetic, and might even agree with the disappointment that FF7 Remake wasn't just a straight remake.
We'll get into it.
A big part of me still wishes it was, but yeah,
we'll get into it when we talk about talk about it later. Yeah. Badly Brave also wrote in, "Hey fellas, after playing the story segment of Granblue Fantasy Relink demo, I gotta say, my main takeaway is this game is strange. It feels like a hack and slash with some minor RPG elements a la FF16, but with clear overbearing multiplayer design philosophies that bleed into every second. It's certainly one of the more interesting games I've played in recent years, and I can't help but feel like it's going to be pretty divisive among its intended audience. Thoughts? I didn't really feel the the overbearing multiplayer design philosophies and the single player stuff like that. I didn't really feel that at all. I don't even know if you can play through that in co-op. I'm not sure. I don't know if co-op is strictly. Yeah, I'm not aware. I'm not sure if it's strictly just the like Monster Hunter-esque kind of things. I'm not sure, but it didn't really feel like it was intruding, I thought, in this at all. So I guess we just kind of disagree there. And as far as like it being divisive among its intended audience, like I don't know what this game intended audience is, honestly. Like Granblue was a gacha game, then a fighting game, then another fighting game, now an action RPG. It just feels like Granblue to me is just covering all these different types of genres now. So I don't know. I guess we'll see. It does come out kind of at a rough time for it, possibly, because there's so many RPGs to choose from. Because like Infinite Wealth's first, I believe, right? That's the end. That's the end of this month, and that's going to get a lot of
crazy. People. The scheduling for this is crazy. The people will not be able to finish Infinite Wealth in time for Granblue.
No, there's no way. Yeah,
there's no way you can finish Infinite.
And it's like at that time. If I wasn't going to play Infinite Wealth later in the year, because I just beat Gaiden, I'd be like, I don't know if I can get the Granblue kind of thing like that, but I'm making an effort, carving out time for it.
Yeah. No. I think I'll make time for Granblue, for sure. If I can squeeze it in between Rebirth, then I will. So
yeah. Rebirth is going to be the real deal, and that's going to be in a moment. Like, don't miss that moment if you can help it, because everyone's going to be talking about it. And I don't want you to get spoiled and stuff like that. So
that's a big issue. I know people who know what happens in Rebirth, and I'm like, don't even fucking tell me about it right now.
Yeah, don't even look at me.
Don't even tell me you know what's happening. I don't even like knowing that you know. Like that annoys me now. You know,
be gone. Yeah, I don't want any of those thoughts in my head. I don't want any of that shit. All right, Ben. Sea of Thieves, dude. When this game came out, I reviewed it for us at Easy Allies, and at the time, it was pretty bare on content when it came out, but I liked the blueprint they had. I thought all that was really good. I thought everything was really sweet. The sailing, working with people, like the ships bursting, you're hammering wood on that. All that stuff was super cool, but there just wasn't a lot of content to actually do with the game at the time. But that was like 6 years ago. And since then, they've been adding a ton of stuff. Talk to me about Sea of Thieves now.
Yeah. Well, when you asked Gene and I what we were playing, I just listed like things I'm playing now, things I've been playing within the last month, and then Sea of Thieves, which I play at least once a week because it's like my like normal stream game because I play the nights of the week. And so like I'm always playing it. Sometimes I'm playing it more. Sometimes I'm playing it less. I've been playing for about 3.5 years, and in that time I have about 3,500 hours in it, which is as impressive as it is embarrassing. So I like the game, I guess you could say, as a statement. But
that's awesome.
Yeah, when the game came out, I wasn't there at launch. I was there, somewhat early on, but for a little bit, and then I jumped back in later. And it was definitely bare on content. And everybody I know that played during that time period is like, it was boring and dull. And the game was awesome as a framework.
Yeah.
But what do you do? And what's the story? And how do I know where to go next and everything? So over the time, even the 3.5-ish years that I've been playing, they have added so much into it. Everything from, a proper tutorial, although it doesn't give you everything you need to know because it takes hundreds of hours to figure out everything you need to know, in my opinion. And somebody else who's figured it out to be with you to play. They've added in, different emissaries so you can raise for different, basically factions where you can earn things for them, missions, new events, new story elements, entirely new mechanics where you can opt into PvP mode specifically. It is a PvE VP game, but also this is like a specific mode for they call it Hourglass, or at least actually I don't know what the official name of it is. I call it Hourglass or diving because you spin an hourglass and then you dive. But I love the game. One of my favorite things about the game is that it creates really good content, and it's a lot of fun for me because you're interacting with people. You're interacting with people over the mic all the time. And people can open mic. They can also be in an Xbox party or in Discord. I play on PC, so I'm always in Discord with my friends if I'm playing. And so, like, you can hide on somebody's boat and listen to what they're doing. You can have interactions while you're fighting each other and seeking each other and, just shit talk each other if you want. That's a lot of fun. And just the fact that, you have some really good, positive interactions. There are, of course, in any gaming community, really negative interactions. There's a lot of shit talk after somebody sinks somebody. So just that aspect of the game where you're having that real time interaction with people, it's not this, you play Call of Duty, and I love Call of Duty. I've got many, many hours over the years in different Call of Duty games, but you play Call of Duty and now you might be able to hear them in proximity chat, or if you kill somebody, you hear their death comms or something like that. And that's fun, but it's not quite the same as being able to converse the entire time you're playing a game, no matter if you're working together or against each other. And so that's one of my favorite aspects of the game. But my almost entirely what I do is PvP. I am not necessarily just the mode of PvP, but I like to go and I like to steal things. It's a pirate game. It's a pirate simulator. I want to steal things. I don't want to go dig up buried treasure. Somebody else can do that for me. I will just take it from them, or at least attempt to take it from them. So that's almost my entire thing. And I make friends pretty often in the game too. Not like
that is the most pirate thing I've ever heard anyone say. I'm not gonna seek treasure. You get it for me, and then I will take it from you.
Yeah.
There's nothing more pirate than that. That's the most quintessential pirate.
There's a Sea of Thieves streamer that I watch occasionally, and when he sees someone doing like a world event or something, he calls them his interns because he's planning on just reaping the benefits from their work. So I kind of like adopting that philosophy as well. But yeah, the game is just a preface before I have you guys. I know, Brad, you wanted to probe some questions, but the game right now is, in my opinion, in a rough state. It's got more content than ever, but the servers, whether it's because of all the content they've added, They've got less server resources. I don't know. There's more people playing, and there are a considerable amount of people playing. The player count's quite decent right now. Whatever the reason is, the server stability is pretty bad. A lot of rubber banding, a lot of hitching, and it kind of makes sense in a way because, like, you look at Sea of Thieves, it's the prettiest water in any video game right now, in my opinion.
Yeah.
All the stuff they've added over the years, they've added not only plenty of stuff on top that you can see, like, on the map, but also stuff under the water, which takes up server resources and everything. And everything's always active, Obviously, if there's no boats in the area or something, I think some things, maybe the PvE doesn't walk around as much or something like that. But for the most part, I mean, you have 5 or 6 ships on a server at any given moment, and they're all over the map. So there's more resources being spread out for that. And then, people get a bunch of loot, they stack it on their boat. For every piece of loot, that takes up a little bit of a server resource. So the game's in a really rough state, and they've made some, in my opinion, questionable decisions as of late for different mechanics that they've put into the game. But they've also made a lot of good improvements and changes to the game that I think are positive. So, I'm not using it as it, but if there were a keep it up and a sort it out about Sea of Thieves, it could be both, because they're doing some really stupid stuff, in my opinion, that's upsetting diehard parts of the fan base, and they're also doing some really smart stuff that is appealing those same parts of the fan base, or maybe a different part. So it's, the performance is an issue, and there are people who are, there's bad hit reg, and since in Sea of Thieves you've got 10 bullets maximum at any given time, and you're shooting them one at a time, you miss one shot and it changes the entire dynamic of the encounter. And this is mostly between players, not necessarily between PvE. And so, they've got to fix the performance. It's great that they keep adding new content, but I really want them to have like an update, a patch that's solely on performance, and that's all they focus on. They don't add any new content. They just work on fixing the game. And they, in fairness, there are a lot of things that have been broken that they have fixed, but there's more work that needs done. But I'm an open book. I know, excuse me, man, I wasn't sounding like this before the show, but I am now.
That's right. Sea of Thieves got you hyped. Too hyped, you're starting to cough now. Here, I'll ask you some questions, Ben, so you can see how you... So, like I said earlier, when the game came out and I reviewed it, I had fun doing everything I was doing, but there wasn't a lot, and I was kind of hoping there would be a more structure to a lot of it, and like a sense of like a quest, I guess. And I played a little bit of the Pirates of the Caribbean thing they added, which was doing what I wanted from a lot of Sea of Thieves, and I never got to finish it, but I really enjoyed what they're doing. Is there a lot more stuff like that in the game now?
So they added at some point, they added in something called Tall Tales, which is basically the story element of the game. And so the Pirate's Life stuff is technically Tall Tales as well, but it's a theme. It's a standalone theme set. And so, man, sorry, I'm getting really
no, it's okay.
Really worked up about Sea of Thieves.
It feels like we're talking about some traumatic event.
Yeah, you think I'm talking about The Last of Us 2 here or something? I don't know.
I know.
Tear it up,
but yeah, there's a lot more stuff like that in there. And in fairness, like I don't participate in that stuff as much. Anytime there's a new adventure or a new tall tale or they do some mysteries from time to time, stuff like that. Anytime there is that stuff, I'll jump into it. But that's not the reason I stay for the game. But for people who are wanting that, there's tons more. And they've actually added a mode recently called Safer Seas, which is funny because it's something they said they would never do. They would never separate people from being in the shared world with PvP potential.
Oh.
And so now, as of like the last month, you can log into the game. You're on a server all by yourself. Whoever's with you on your boat is with you, but it's just you. The only obstacles are your own stupidity and PvE, which sometimes those go hand in hand well together. And so you can jump in and do the missions. There is a decreased earn rate, and you don't earn, faction reputation as much. And also, you don't earn as much gold and stuff like that. But if you're somebody who just wants to hop in for that story content, or if you really, really just do not want to interact with other players, then you can hop into that and play that. And I think that's one of the big. I don't like it for myself, but I think that it is healthy because the game is. It looks really simple. It seems really simple, but to actually master the game and like figure out the combat mechanics in the game and do them well, you need to know how to operate your boat and move your pirate around really well before you can actually get into that stuff. And so if you're able to jump into a world that doesn't have all that stuff to begin with, I think that's a big benefit. But yeah, the story stuff has gotten better. It still, in my opinion, isn't the draw of the game for most people.
Okay.
But some of the story stuff they've done in the past has been pretty cool. It's a little dry at other times, but usually a couple times a year there's a new story edition, and you'll see the player count shoot up, and people will jump in and do it. And then the bad thing is that the story stuff doesn't always seem to impact the world as much as I would like.
Okay.
But it is there. There is definitely a lot more of it now than there ever used to be.
Okay. So this story content, can you redo it or anything like that? Like if you're playing with someone new, can you redo the content while they go for the first time?
Yeah, so there's the Tall Tales, the things I mentioned before. You can redo any of those anytime you want if you've already done them.
Okay.
So that's no problem. They had for a while done what they called mysteries and adventures that were a limited amount of time. So there's a lot of people who have petitioned that those be opened up to people to redo them, because obviously there's people that'll start playing tomorrow that weren't here 3 years ago when the first part of the story they're participating in came out.
Right.
And I think that's something that they've hinted at considering for the future. I understand it takes a lot of resources. Obviously, to have all that stuff available on demand on any server is tough in a game like that. But I think that's something they'll do in the future. It's
a live service game, so they have limited time events and all that kind of stuff. What's the monetization like now in that game?
Well, the game is the game is paid, so it is a paid game.
Right.
I think it's on normally like $40 now. They also have something called an Emporium. And honestly, the whole point of the game, not the point of the game, but you earn gold in the game so that you can buy new stuff, new things to make your boat look cool, to make you look cool.
Cosmetics.
Cosmetics. And pretty much all of that can be done with in-game currency, stuff you earn in-game. But then there is something called the Emporium where you can get, new cosmetics, new emotes, new boat, ship sets, whatever. And there's a lot of that stuff that's paid. So, that can be anywhere from 100 currency, which is $1, to $20.
Okay.
And so it's never in your face. Like, honestly, there are people who didn't know it existed that I've run into before. They're like, "Where'd you get that?" And I'm like, "Well, it's in the shop." And you can earn some of that real money in the game as well.
Oh, that's great.
There's a thing called Ancient Skeletons that you can earn. It's not very much and it's not very often, but you can earn it. And through the Battle Pass, of course, you can earn some of that as well. So you don't ever have to spend money, but that's the other thing. They have they call it the Plunder Pass. It's $10 a season. Season's going to be anywhere from 3 months to 10 months, although they're more often 3 months. And so that's the monetization. It's never in your face. I've never tried to do anything and it was like, you have to have the battle. It's purely optional. And honestly, the amount of people I see in the game with stuff from the Emporium is crazy. So I know there are people spending money even though they never outright ask you to.
Oh yeah, dude, people drop money for cosmetics all the time.
Yeah.
So the Battle Pass, I assume you get cosmetics and stuff. You get currency, I assume, too, for the shop order. Do you get enough to rebuy the Battle Pass or the Plunder Pass?
So that has changed. Yeah, that has changed over time. Early on, you didn't, and then you did, and then you didn't. And right now, to be honest with you, I have no idea whether you do or not. I think you do. But before, the times when you didn't, it was like you were 100 short or something like that. Which, those ancient skeletons I mentioned, you kill one of those and it's a varying amount. So you could get anywhere from 40 to 300 or something like that. I don't know the exact amount.
You could get it just by playing the game though,
right?
Which is cool. I love, I always really liked Fortnite was like that. I think you'd even get a little extra. So if you just play the game, you'd keep getting, which I think is really cool.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, you can earn it within the Plunder Pass. Now I think you can.
Okay. Gene, do you have any experience with this game?
I do not. I probably have less experience than you do, but I did play it at launch because I was very very interested in the concept, and I still am. I still love what they established even back then. Like you, Brad, I also didn't experience much content, but I did enjoy the just the basic foundation, the multiplayer. It reminded me of Lost Planet 2.
Mm-hmm.
If you guys remember the old Capcom game.
I remember
Um,
it, but I never played that one. I played the first one.
Yeah, my favorite parts of it were when there's a big ass robot and you and your other player teammates have to enter the robot and
Yeah.
basically man the robot and try to figure things out as things are falling apart, and then you're going around and you're fighting different aliens. So, and then when I started playing Sea of Thieves, I was like, oh my God, this is just like Lost Planet 2. This is so awesome. You have to communicate with your team members to manage different parts of your ship. I love that. I just haven't, I do recognize that it is definitely a game that I probably should play with someone else.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting that there is a safer seas mode. That might be something that I might try then, just to be able to get pun intended, get my feet wet again in Sea of Thieves, because I am astounded by the game's life and the fact that it's still going on and people still have fun with it. You still have fun with it, and that it just sounds like so much better than Skull and Crossbones by Ubisoft. I'm going to talk about Ubisoft later.
Skull and Bones.
I mean, Skull and Bones. Yeah, Skull and Bones. Wait, what did I call it? Skull and Crossbones.
Skull and Crossbones, which
You had to
could
save you
also
from the
work.
comments. Yeah.
which is about the same thing. Skull and
Yeah,
Bones.
same thing.
Which sounds so much more fun than I mean, Sea of Thieves. It just on paper, it just sounds so much more fun than Skull and Bones, because in Sea of Thieves you get to walk around and do stuff.
You get to
go on
sword
an island
fight.
and you get to find treasure, and you get to fight pirates and ghosts and stuff like that. And,
Yes.
and it's still, jury's still out there whether you can even still do that in Skull and Bones. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, we got, like, what do we got to do, Ben, to get us all to play together one time? We need a whole crew.
Just
Us
ask me.
three, maybe Dustin.
Yeah.
Just ask me. That's all
We
you
need
do.
you to show us the ways, be our captain.
We could do that. Maybe I'll take you guys into safer seas, unless you want to have the
Oh no,
interaction.
I'm fine with dying and wiping.
Oh
Okay.
no, yeah. No, if I'm
Yeah.
gonna go with a crew, I want the full
That's like-
experience. I want the
that's
full
half the
messy
fun.
experience. Yeah,
Yeah.
I want absolute chaos to happen. for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah. We
So,
need
No,
the
you-
chaos.
You know,
Yeah.
I don't know. You know, you might have to twist my arm to get me to play with you guys, but I'll try it out. It's it's so much better. I meant to mention that earlier. Like, plenty of people play the game solo, and that's certainly a viable way to play. But it is playing the game on hard mode. Like, if you're
Mhm.
playing, the game was designed to be played. And originally, when it came out, there was a sloop and a galleon, so either 2 or 4 players.
Mhm.
They added a brig in later, which it has 3 players, because I guess, and all the boats have different abilities, not abilities, but different speeds and different catches to them. But really, the game is meant to be played with a team, and
Yeah.
so 2 or 4
Yeah.
players. 2, 3, 4 players is the best way to do it.
Yeah, that was really the only thing that took me out. It's like, man, this game sounds so much fun. I don't have a team to play this with.
Yeah.
But yeah, what a cool concept, and it's always been so cool to hear that it's still going on, because I was like, that was a strong game. That game should still have an audience. So
It's not only still going on. It's usually in the top Xbox games, at least the top 10 or 15.
yeah, better than Infinite, right?
It
Yes.
charted. Yeah, it's better than Infinite. That's true.
Yeah.
It charted on MPD, like 2 or 3 months ago, almost 6 years after its release. Now, granted, it had been a while since it showed up there, but it did chart. And on Steam, I think the concurrent numbers, and mind you, this is a paid game, are still like between 10 and 15,000, and
Yeah,
a lot of times it bumps up to 20 for
It's
the
pretty
bump
good,
during the
yeah.
day. So
Yeah, that's a
It's-
lot.
it's amazing
That's a
how
healthy community
resilient it is.
for all,
especially with how bad a shape it's in, honestly.
yeah.
I don't know if people who mostly do PvE don't notice that stuff as much, and that's certainly possible. But I'm really shocked at the fact that so many people.
Mhm.
It's the only game I will excuse that many bugs in, because I just love the game.
Yeah.
Most of the time, if I experience that many bugs, I'm like, I'm not. Whatever. Get in a better spot, and maybe I'll come back. But for whatever reason, and I would never tolerate it in a single player game, honestly.
Man, I love
It is
I love
buggy.
this show. I love this show because it actually works on me in terms of getting me interested in exciting about games. Like, if I heard if I heard a Sea of Thieves conversation on Sacred Symbols or even in Dukes, I would be like, oh, they're just talking about the Sea of Thieves and we're moving on. But in the kind of conversation that this show allows, makes me start thinking about the game a little bit deeper. And I'm like, man, it actually would be a really good idea to reinstall Sea of Thieves and check it out right now.
Gene, you don't have to tell me. I just downloaded Granblue demo because Brad like
exactly, yeah.
If I looked at that game on the PlayStation, there's no way in hell I'd download it.
That's exactly what I'm saying. Like these last two games, I'm just like, man, like I just have a deeper appreciation for wanting to play these games now. And I think, you know, just as an aside, I think that's the kind of value that this show brings, you know, just as a listener, you know.
Yeah, I mean, it's just talking about games, your experience with the games with your buddies, pretty much, and you know, you talk to Buddy about a game, you're like, okay, maybe I'll give that a shot.
Exactly. Yeah. You're like, oh, that sounds fun. Maybe I should check it out. That's exactly what the vibe is for this show right now. And I'm loving it. So I hope you guys enjoy it too.
Yeah, hopefully. Ben, we were talking about Sea of Thieves. I think there's so much impressive about this game. One thing I do really love about this game is how they nail like the vibe of being on the ship with your crew, Ben. Like, I love that you can just go drink like grog or whatever and cheers with them and drink until you start puking everywhere. I think that's really fun. Yeah. I love that you can just bust out instruments and everyone can start playing together. I think that's so... It maybe seem like a small thing for a lot of people, but to me, that's so great and really like brings your crew together as a celebration. I really love like it is the pirate fantasy, and I really appreciate all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, like, if you're somebody who enjoys multiplayer, there's nothing better, in my opinion, right now, to actually play together. Like I said, you know, just not to shit on Call of Duty, but just to throw it back to that. Like, you can play Call of Duty and you can be a team, but you're really all operating independently. And Sea of Thieves, like, whether you're playing or working in the game,
you're a unit.
You're still a unit. Like, you can't sail a galleon by yourself.
Right.
You know, you need your team.
Yeah, and someone's got to chart the course.
I always feel like it's the smartest games that are designed around co-op, you know, like It Takes Two and Sea of Thieves, you know. It's so smart to make this.
Yeah, just like the experience of like, hey, someone guard the ship. The rest of us are going to check out this island or something like that. You like dig up treasure, you come back, ship's wrecked, everyone's dead. You're just like, okay, this is fun. This is the kind of stuff I love from that game.
Yeah. Does it run great on Steam Deck? It should, right?
You know, I don't even have a Steam Deck, but I would imagine it runs well.
Maybe it might run all right. Yeah.
Yeah, it would have to run pretty good on Steam Deck. I feel like that'd be a good Steam Deck game to have.
Yeah.
Now I'm getting really excited to play this game.
As a PvP sweat, that sounds disgusting, but I bet it would be okay for somebody who's not. Yeah. Definitely. When I think about playing that game with a controller, I just like get a little sick.
Dude. I remember when the game came out, like I could tell people were playing on controller, just how they were moving and stuff like that. Oh, for sure. Yeah. And you're like, oh, easy bait kind of thing like that. Like, you're dead. Poot wrote in, hey, sign summoners. I'd assume this is a question that only Ben would be able to answer, but here it goes. What's the best part about Sea of Thieves? Is it the higher player count than Halo Infinite? The beautiful water effects? Or that you can bully people and steal their shit? Thanks, and I'm loving the more long-form gaming discussions of the show. Brad, you're doing a great job despite your learning disability of watching anime. Thank you. I try my best. It is a hindrance, I am aware. But yeah, Ben, what's the best part about Sea of Thieves in your opinion?
I think all the things he mentioned are great. I mean, of course, aside from the Halo dig Infinite. Or the Halo Infinite dig there, which I like to rile people up when they shit on Sea of Thieves, like, oh, you like Halo and it has a worse player count. But anyway, I love Halo 2. I think, like I mentioned before, the best part really is the fact that there's real interaction with people, that you actually can interact. And of course, if you're somebody who doesn't like that, then maybe that's not for you. But if you're playing Sea of Thieves, chances are you either don't mind it or you really like it. Because you can go without ever talking to anybody if you don't want to. But if you want to, you can really, get in somebody's face and be friends or be enemies. Of course, I love the rush that comes along with, sneaking up on somebody and blowing their ship up and stealing their things, or diving into the water, emerging, crazy battle music, fighting somebody cannonball to cannonball and hopping on their ship, lowering their anchor. Like, I love all that stuff. But honestly, what it really does come down to is the player interaction for me. The community around it, although it's like any community, it has its high and low points. Has just always been the thing that draws me back into the game. And the excitement of stealing stuff from somebody, it's unmatched, but it wouldn't be anything if I weren't playing with some buddies. It'd be kind of boring, honestly, for me. So yeah, I really think it's the player interaction, the way that the way that you interact with the world is fun, but the way that you interact with other players is the highlight for me, for sure.
Totally. Yeah, it's just like the ultimate pirate fantasy. I just love getting a map. You look at the map, there's an X on it. You got to find it. You got to dig treasure. You get loot. You buy new stuff. I think that's just fun pirate shit to do.
Yeah.
And puking on your friends. It's all really good.
Absolutely. Puking is actually a battle technique as well.
Yeah, I believe it, dude.
When you board someone's ship and you just like eat some grubs, some worms right before you go up on their ship, and as soon as you get up on their ship, you puke on them, and then they can't see for a minute while you run around and lower their anchor. Like, that's a technique. It's also fun, but
Yeah. This question's from Real Radic.
Oh no.
Uh-oh. Hello, Summon Sign crew. This question is for Ben, as he is a Sea of Thieves expert. With talk about a Sea of Thieves heading to PlayStation, isn't it convenient? All this chatter began a month from the release date of Skull and Bones. Is Microsoft low-key scared of this juggernaut that Ubisoft Singapore has been developing for 8+ years? I know Skull and Bones has been one of your most anticipated games ever, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on how Skull and Bones could be the Sea of Thieves killer you always wanted. Will you miss your time with Sea of Thieves once you start becoming a full-time Skull and Bones content creator?
Well, apart from the obvious Skull and Bones trolling there, because he knows I'm not interested in Skull and Bones.
How could you be?
Yeah, it just looks like trash. I'm not. People are like, "Oh, it's gonna be a Sea of Thieves competitor." I'm like, forget Sea of Thieves. Like, it doesn't even look like a fun game by itself, let alone being a competitor. It might be great. They're just different kinds of games. Like Gene mentioned, in Sea of Thieves, you're a pirate. You're not a ship. And in Skull and Bones, like, you're a ship and not a pirate. Like, they can both be fun, but they're not the same thing. Anyway,
Ben, let me say this real quick, Ben.
Yeah.
At Easy Allies, our good friend Don was hyping up Sea of Thieves for years, actual years, saying it's going to be amazing. Now he's not hyping it up so much. Now that's getting close. I don't really know if
Skull and Bones. You said
Skull and Bones. Sorry, Skull and Bones. He was hyping up Skull and Bones for years.
Hyping up Skull and Bones this whole time. That's funny.
Yeah, he dubbed it S&B. That's the new way to say it.
I heard him say that.
Yes, and it's getting close now, and I don't even know if Don's going to actually even play it. That's the vibe I'm getting now. So I don't know.
So his S&B fandom was earnest though initially.
Don's a weird, mysterious human where he's like Kramer from Seinfeld, where I'm not sure all the time what's a bit and what is real life with that man.
Yeah.
He walks a very fine line of insanity. So I don't really know.
It is so there's two parts of this. Is one, the comparison to Skull and Bones. And again, Skull and Bones might end up being a fun game, but I don't think the one's going to draw attention from the other, personally. The other thing, I guess, since Radic brought it up, is just to to have the discussion about the potential of Sea of Thieves coming to PlayStation and or Switch. I mean, I know we've heard various things now, but I don't know. I think it'd be really interesting. I think it would, for a live service game, it makes total sense to bring it to other platforms.
Yeah.
I know some people are butthurt about it, but they're all idiots. They don't really care about that. But the idea of it being multi-platform after being an exclusive for a live service game is just smart business, in my opinion, especially for a popular game.
Yes. It'll only help the game, probably. If they can figure out their tech issues or whatever, like they were talking about.
Yeah.
But yeah, for a live service game, you want as many players as possible to play that game.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, it'll be surprising to see it, I guess, an Xbox game. But there's some Xbox games on PlayStation, and this game's old, dude. Or it's like 6 years old already, so...
Right. Yeah.
I don't know what you got to lose.
March
I don't know what you got to lose, so...
Yeah.
I think they should just do it.
Yep. Agreed.
All right, dudes. It is time for Sorted Out. This segment, we talk about who needs sorting in the game industry? Company, human being, game, whatever. Something needs sorting. Do you dudes have one? It's okay if you don't. I don't always have one. Okay.
Yeah. It's less a game or a game company and more a gaming adjacent thing.
Okay.
But my sorted out is Twitch.
Oh.
Sorted out Twitch.
Yeah.
We've seen like a lot of in the last 2 years, probably just like all sorts of people being upset with Twitch. Twitch making like crazy, weird decisions. Hey, we're going to allow. We've never allowed anything remotely not safe for work before, and now all of a sudden, as long as you're in the art category, you're fine with it. Oh, you can't be in a hot tub if you're in just chatting, but as long as you're in the pools section, you can be in the hot whatever.
Right.
And like a lot of weird stuff happening. And then just the other day, there was an interview where Twitch mentions that they are not profitable. They're not making money. And I think that we probably could have guessed that to some extent. And I know there's such a thing as loss leaders and everything. But just the idea that Twitch is so huge, it's a behemoth. Honestly, the only one that can actually probably rival them right now, I know there's other competitors, but is YouTube. And even YouTube's live service or live streaming is not where it could be with as big as YouTube is. Just the fact that so many people's livelihood depends on Twitch. If they can't figure out what they want their coherent policies to be, if they can't figure out, yes, we want anime titties on the screen or we don't, if they can't figure out, if you're a partner, you get this percentage, like something's got to give. They just laid off a bunch of people too, which I know is business thing. It has to happen sometimes, but it still sucks.
Yeah.
If I were a full-time, that was my livelihood creator on Twitch, I would feel nervous after they come out and, just blatantly say like, we're not making money. And there's such a huge part of gaming and a huge part of the infrastructure of many people's livelihood. It's kind of scary. So I don't know what the fix is, but sort it out.
Yeah, I think that's totally an appropriate and very good one, actually, Ben, because like it definitely feels like that they don't really know what they're doing a lot of times. Like that art example you said, like the NSFW stuff for you could just do the art category, then they like revert stuff like the next day or something like that. It just seems like you don't really have like a clear vision or concrete kind of thing going on. Yeah. So sort it out, Twitch.
That's right.
Gene, do you have one?
Gosh, I don't really know. I guess for me, and this is a real basic one, but just Microsoft sort out your messaging in terms of.
Oh, very good one.
Yeah, I mean, just in terms of, in light of the talk about Sea of Thieves being exclusive or non-exclusive or whatever, and just all of this messaging, I do feel sorry for Microsoft in that people do seem to be picking apart their words, and they seem to be a little bit obsessed and probably even misconstruing a lot of what they're saying. But I do think that the onus of that problem ultimately belongs on Microsoft. And it does feel like that the messaging is unclear. Does there need to be clear messaging? I don't know. Maybe they don't care about that. Maybe the confusion is a point. But I do sympathize with Xbox fans who feel like that they can't feel safe in their investment into the Xbox ecosystem when all these games just could end up elsewhere,
Right.
So I totally get that.
Yeah,
and then Nintendo isn't saying the same thing, But honestly, I believe both PlayStation and Xbox kind of have a first party problem going on right now. We don't know what the hell is going on with Sony either. So really, I feel like both of the AAA platform holders are kind of weird. But then honestly, Microsoft is the one with the more confusing messaging. Sony just isn't saying anything. So it feels like it's either having confusing messaging or just not saying anything. So, I don't know.
I think that's really good.
Yeah, both companies sort it out. That's what I say.
Yeah, sort it out, dude. Mine's just a little less serious, but it's just still annoying to me that it's the year 2024 and this franchise is just popping off constantly. And I cannot buy the original trilogy of Resident Evil on modern platforms. How long do I have to wait? They have Director's Cut on PS Plus, but it's premium. You have to have premium, and you can't buy it a la carte. You could only do it if you had the subscription. Just let me buy that trilogy of games, please, Capcom.
I think you can buy Director's Cut.
You couldn't originally when it came out because I tried to, but maybe they changed that. But I was very upset about that. I begrudgingly subbed for months to play.
Yeah, hold on, let me see.
But it's like, come on, you're pumping out Resident Evil games like every year or every other year.
Is that the reason? Is it because they want you to buy the remakes? And
I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't think it's going to take away. You
couldn't buy it originally, yeah, for sure.
I don't think that's going to take away from the remakes because they're different enough.
They're so different.
It's going to sell more of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just don't understand why they're doing this to me. Please, Capcom, just give me those Resident Evil trilogy games. I need them.
Yeah, I agree too. Release them on Steam or anywhere.
Anywhere.
Anywhere. They're just fun to replay, especially part 2 and 3.
Yeah.
Especially in light of like part 3's remake and what was missing from there. It's like, okay, well, just give us a regular part 3 then, and all the content that was missing from the remake is there in the original one. And we still love that shit. So.
And I know people will be like, well, just pirate it. It's like, I understand that is an option, but I would like to be able to buy it and have it legally on whatever platform I want. That's the idea. Please, Capcom, sort that out. All right, we got a couple from the audience. King Kulak wrote in, "Hola, boys. Capcom needs to quit with this new anti-mod DRM that they are even adding retroactively to decade-old games. I've never seen a company on a win streak so deliberately hand themselves a big fat L like this. I went from wanting to play Dragon's Dogma 1 in anticipation of 2 to not even giving a shit at all and even refunding Monster Hunter World over this. Mods are such an integral part of gaming, especially PC gaming. Sort it out, Capcom." I think that's fair, and I believe some of these like DRM things affect the performance of the game and stuff like that. I've heard like frame rate. So yeah, that's super annoying and unacceptable. Please change that. Quick one from Neo JD. "Sort it out, Xbox. Please let me know if you're going to stop making exclusives so I don't need to get the next Xbox console. A year after is fine, but it seems even people within your own company are on different pages when it comes to this. Sort it out."
Exactly.
Yep, we touched on that. Yep, Gene touched on that. Yep. Yeah, hopefully, they got that showcase coming up. Maybe they'll give us a little insight into their plans. I don't know.
I think they just don't have a strategy right now.
Oh, damn.
To be quite honest, I think that they just don't really have one. And like, they can say Game Pass is a strategy, and they've been saying that for a while, but it hasn't been that of a great one, So, you can't really say like, oh my God, Game Pass is our pillar when it's the one thing that you can't even like talk about how successful it is.
Yeah.
So what else are they going to say? They're going to say all this other shit,
Yeah, and it's like, I don't know if I don't think Sony or Nintendo would even want Game Pass on their consoles because they have their own stuff.
Yeah, I know Nintendo definitely doesn't care. So.
Yeah, I don't think Nintendo cares about anyone, which I admire.
Yeah. Nintendo's not going to sell less Mario games because Game Pass is on.
Right, exactly.
True. Yeah, it doesn't affect them either way whatsoever,
I desperately want Nintendo games on like a PC or something like that, but I realize it'll never happen. At least like legally. With Sony, I guess legally, yeah. I guess with Sony you get some stuff every now and then, but just let me play like Zelda, man, on a PC.
Nintendo PC games would be so great, though. Yeah,
they'd be so awesome.
Yeah, I don't care about Nintendo games on PlayStation. That would be weird. But Nintendo games on PC, though,
just let me, port Zelda on there or something, dude. Please,
just be able to freely mod Zelda too. Without having to worry about Simu and all this other stuff.
Yeah, exactly. All right, the next segment is Keep It Up. This is the exact opposite of Sort It Out. People that are doing good in the game industry. Who are we feeling, boys?
I have one.
Yeah, please.
Keep it up, Ubisoft.
Okay.
Ubisoft. You guys have been making some good games lately. And And to be fair to Ubisoft, they have been making okay games in the recent years. I don't know if people know Riders Republic, the extreme sports
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
open world game. That was a lot of fun, and that people really slept on that one. But with the recent release of Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown, I've been playing it. I haven't been playing it enough to keep it in this show where I can talk about it real deeply, because again, I've been playing Infinite Wealth. That's been my focus for the last 2 weeks. But the Lost Crown, I said this on Twitter, but it really feels like the missing link between Prince of Persia and the 2D cinematic, heavily animated games, and Eco.
Eco.
Yeah,
really.
Eco games like Eco and Uncharted are kind of the successors of Prince of Persia, right? And
yeah,
World.
sure.
And then Prince of Persia: Lost Crown is kind of like the in between, where this is a very, very cinematic 2D game where the boss battles are being implemented, and the camera system just kind of goes out and switches back out in 2D, and you're just fighting in 2D, and then it goes back into 3D, and then the regular storytelling. Really, really fascinating, interesting stuff. On top of being a good Metroidvania, again, I'm not that far into it to be able to really deconstruct whether it's an amazing Metroidvania from people who I trust. They seem to be saying yes, and from what I can tell from the game, it seems to also be the case. The combat is very, very smooth. But it's just good to see Ubisoft. It really feels like, and again, this is a studio that has been responsible for some of Ubisoft's great games in the past. But again, it feels like a game that like a Beyond Good and Evil, like the kind of game that Ubisoft would make in the past. I was like, oh, this is really creative with interesting characters and an interesting, solid gameplay that really advances the genre a little bit or does something interesting with the genre. And yeah, it doesn't feel scummy at all whatsoever. And then I also played Avatar, which again I haven't finished yet either, but I touched it and I was like, this is kind of a better game than Far Cry. It kind of does more interesting things with the open world. There's a lot more verticality that makes this game a little bit more interesting than Far Cry, and a little bit more liberating and open than your Crysis. So yeah, Ubisoft has been cooking up some interesting stuff, and it's nice to see them being creative again. And in the public eye about it too,
Hey, Gene, you'll have in a couple of weeks. You'll have Skull and Bones to add to your Ubisoft.
Exactly. I mean, that's why we're ragging on Skull and Bones, and who knows? Skull and Bones could end up being pretty good too.
Yeah, who knows? Yeah.
We'll see. But that's the other part of Ubisoft, right? Where it's like, well, we're just making product for product's sake because we have a contract with the government of Singapore to put this out.
Yeah, I feel like Ubisoft does some really exciting stuff and some really just boring stuff I don't care about, like Ghost Recon, like Wildlands or something like that. That's not for me, but the Mario and Rabbids games were good. I played the first one. I haven't played the second one. I heard the second one was even better, so that's really cool. But yeah, they do some better. Really cool
The thing with Ubisoft games is that I haven't been finishing it, but it is better for sure too.
Yeah. So it's like, they do some really cool stuff. Like I even remember For Honor was a really creative and cool game when it came out. Yeah. So yeah, they do some cool stuff every now and then. So I hope you keep doing well, Ubisoft. Stay around, please. No hostile takeovers for you.
Yeah. Is it a Capcom style Renaissance? Who knows?
We'll see about Skull and Bones. Skull and Bones is going to be a hit. It's going to be
nice to see a Capcom style Renaissance for a lot of different companies.
Yeah, that's what we all hope. We're all
like Konami. Like wouldn't it be nice?
That would be
Konami,
insane.
Yeah, it would be a great time in gaming if Konami actually fucking realized we could be a great company like Capcom and do some amazing things with our IP. Imagine a Castlevania game as good as the Resident Evil 2 remakes. What the fuck,
Yeah, my dream is for a Castlevania game made by FromSoftware. That's what I want.
Yeah.
It's just like, I'll give you so much money. Just make that happen.
Yeah, because Dark Souls games are basically Castlevania games.
Yeah, you're like honestly. Cainhurst Castle and Bloodborne is like you're already pretty much there. So
yeah, and Drang Lake in Dark Souls 2 even. Remember that Drang Lake and the fucking staircase that you go up on that one? That's Castlevania right there, baby.
Yeah, they got the DNA there.
Yeah.
Just let me kill some vampires.
Yeah, and then you can even make your own Simon Belmont builds in Elden Ring and Dark Souls 3 too, you know?
Oh yeah. All that good stuff. Ben, do you have one?
Yeah. The company Future Lab most recently came out with Power Wash Simulator. They did the Peaky Blinders game back a while ago. I haven't played that, but I've heard it did well. But with Power Wash Simulator, you know, just people mocking me for loving it when it came out, and now it's a huge hit on PlayStation Plus. That studio, Future Lab, they've supported that game. They've done really well. They paired up with Square Enix, who knows where that can take them. So I don't know what their next thing is going to look like, but I just have really enjoyed like the obvious attention and detail and care they've put into this most recent release of theirs, and for them to be able to partner with Square, hopefully in the future as well too. Whatever they are going to put out next, I'm probably going to check it out, because they just seem to make games that hit for whatever reason.
Yeah,
and they're a sleeper hit, but they're a hit.
Ben, if they do something with Square Enix again, I want it to be Rebirth, and I want to clean the big Junon cannon gun.
Oh yeah,
like humongous. It'll take like 10 hours to clean. That's what I want to do.
The Final Fantasy VII Remake stuff they put in the game was fun, just to see it in a different
it was cool.
Yeah,
I thought that was really cool. They did a good job with it.
Yeah. So I don't know if they'll, their next thing will be another sim type game, or if it'll be something totally different, but I'm sure I'm going to be there for it, whatever it is.
My keep it up is just for a little developer I do like. Gene, we talked about them briefly on the JRPG episode we did. They are a developer within Square Enix, Tokyo RPG Factory. They've made some pretty good to decent games that I do like. I don't think that they're like the best games, but I do like them, and I think they're charming. But I just like that studio. I like their scale, and I hope they get to continue just making new games and stuff. Because I don't think every RPG needs to be, $200 million game or anything like that. Just something a little more small scale, I'm cool with. So I hope they're doing good. Keep it up, guys.
Yeah.
All right, we got some keep it ups from the audience as well. This is from Nick B. Leave It. Keep it up, Disney. They've been the one publisher consistently putting classic games on Plus. They let you buy them a la carte, and to my knowledge, they honor your purchases from PS3 and Vita store. People need to accept that only Sony games are ever going to get trophies, but there are still several Disney PS1 favorites that can still come. I bought Toy Story 2 on PS1 or PS3, and it carried over to my PS5. That game rules. Toy Story 2 on PS1 is awesome. So Disney had a lot of good games. Yeah, Disney had a lot of great games back then. I would love to get I would love to get more of their Super Nintendo stuff. I know they did some collections. Yeah, but I would like those on PSN and stuff, but they're not PlayStation games. But there's probably a ton of Star Wars games they can move over. So Okay, this is from Eugene Levy, bassist. Hey fellas, I gotta say, to keep it up to Capcom, I'm a longtime survival horror fan thanks to Resident Evil 1 on PS1. All of their franchises of late have been top notch. The only thing I really want is a Resident Evil 1 VR experience for PSVR 2. I would love to go back to the Spencer Mansion, revisit it in VR. Welcome to the family, Brad. Take care. That'd be pretty rad. VR for Resident Evil 1. I could see that happening if they remake Resident Evil 1 again. If they do it like the modern remakes, which I'm fine with. I'm okay if they remake that game. I love Resident Evil Remake as it is. I love Resident Evil 1 all the way through all the versions, but you gonna remake that game again? Sure, I'll take it.
Yeah. Yeah. Spencer Mansion is, to me, the most iconic location in a video game.
Yeah.
Besides, I guess, Peach's Castle or something,
Yeah.
Or like Hyrule Castle or whatever like that. Spencer Estate is up there.
Spencer Mansion, it is, dude. Everyone knows it. Everyone knows it. Everyone loves it. It's a pleasure to be in every time.
Yep.
I need to play Resident Evil 4 VR, man. I need to get to that.
I should try that too. I should actually give PSVR another shot again.
Yeah, because I played some of Village in VR. It was really cool.
Really good, yeah.
Yeah, it's really cool. So, and RE4 Remake's obviously fantastic. So I'd love to see what it's like in that. All right, boys. This next game is something we all can talk about. Final Fantasy VII Remake.
Hmm.
Because Rebirth is on the horizon it'll be out next month, which is insane to say to me right now.
Mhm.
But it's coming up. I've been replaying the game. Ben, you've also been replaying the game, and
Mhm.
Gene, you've been playing some too, haven't you?
I have not, but it's installed.
But you've played the
and
game
ready
at
to go.
least.
I played it before. I played
Yeah.
intermission for sure. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ben, let's start
Yeah.
with you, man. How's your experience been so far with it?
So, a little story first. Final Fantasy VII was one of my favorite games growing up. I probably played the original 6 or 7 times in full and partial times other than that.
Cool.
Growing up. And then, so I was excited for the remake. I thought it was going to be really cool. Of course, when they announced it at first, I was like, no. And then I was excited for it. And then, so the game came out. I played like 7 to 10 hours of it. A combination of me getting distracted with something else, I don't remember what, and getting pissed off at something they changed. Again, I don't remember what. I put the game down and said, I'm going to come back to it. And guess what? I never did. So about a week and a half ago, I picked it back up, reinstalled it, got the PS5 version with the DLC.
Mhm.
What do they call it? Intermission? The whole...
Yes.
Yeah. And just finished it up 2 nights ago, including the DLC and everything. So I played through it. This is my first time playing through the entire remake. And now looking back, I'm like, why did I stop playing? I loved it the entire way through. So yeah, it's fantastic. Like I don't know another word to describe it. One of my all-time favorite experiences was the original, and the remake is phenomenal. There are a lot of changes, obviously, some substantial ones, some not so substantial ones.
Yeah.
And this time playing through, I really enjoyed it. I think part of the problem before, when I tried to play it the first time back in 2020, was it 2020? Whenever it was, I had just watched a whole full playthrough of the original. I didn't play it again, but I'd watched a full playthrough, and it was so fresh in my mind. I think that's part of what did it. But this time, it's been since then that I've watched the original, and I just love every piece of it. I love the character development. I love the sets. I love the settings. I love the combat. I played on the normal mode, not the classic mode. Whatever it's called, if it's called anything. And just the way that they integrated those turn-based mechanics with the action RPG element of it is great. The upgrading system is great. Like, I'm just going to say, if you can think of a part of the game, it's great. I loved it. I like the fact that, because so many people are playing it right now, I don't want to get into too many spoilers, but just the fact that they brought some characters out like Jesse, who you really don't see a whole lot of, you don't really know why you're supposed to care about them. The remake takes care of that and really gives you a reason to care about that character. The fact that it changes the fates of some people, and that it maybe moves around the fates of some people into different parts of the timeline of the game is really cool, and I like the way they do it. And the fact that they just introduced entire new I don't want to say mechanics, but entire new like story elements into the game, changing things around that weren't done before. It makes it like, it doesn't take away. Now I'm seeing that now that I didn't see that before when I tried to play it the first time. It doesn't take away anything from the original. It just makes it better, and of course it changes it to some extent. And I think that's gonna be to its benefit, especially with Rebirth coming up. But I loved it. I played the Yuffie DLC, which I hadn't touched at all before. I wasn't really that impressed by it. I liked Yuffie as a character, back in the day, but I thought that it was a little bit shallow. And yeah, it's DLC. Maybe it's supposed to be, but it just didn't. There's some parts in it, story-wise, that are important. But as far as the actual gameplay of it, I didn't find it to be that engaging. Yeah.
I thought the attacks you can do with Sonon, I forgot what it's called. Yeah. It's been a while since I played it. How they could both kind of like interact to each other with combos, I thought was really sweet.
Oh, fun.
I mean, we're gonna get more into that with Rebirth, obviously, but there's some nice little elements like that, I thought.
I think that I like the combat parts of it. It's very similar, obviously, to the base game. But as far as like, and maybe it's because the full game is 30 hours ish, and you have a lot more time to space it out. But I felt like so much of the DLC was just like, well, you need to get over there, so let's take you in the most circuitous path we can. It felt like I was just filling time part of it. Rather than it actually being like consequential. And not every moment of a game can obviously be impactful to the story, but I love Yuffie as a character.
I think the DLC was just a reason for us to be able to play as Yuffie. That was really about it. The story didn't really matter. Here's Yuffie, and here's how she controls. Doesn't she control amazing? And she did.
Right. The story's gonna matter for Rebirth.
It will,
especially when you have Nero from Dirge of Cerberus showing up. And all those connections. So that's going to carry over into all the future thing like that.
But that's my experience has been great. I loved it. I couldn't stop playing it once I started again. So
did you play Fort Condor in it?
Yes, but not extensively. I played I don't know, 6 or 8 games probably.
Okay. I loved Fort Condor.
I could have gotten carried away in it, but I was trying to make sure I got it done.
Sure, makes sense. Yeah, absolutely. Gene, let's hear some of your thoughts about Remake.
Fort Condor was great because I think I mentioned this in the JRPG cast, but my first experience with FF7 Vanilla was completely in Japanese. And the hands down the most confusing part of the game, or the original Final Fantasy VII, when you don't know Japanese, is Fort Condor, and trying to figure out what the fuck to do. And the fact that you get the Phoenix materia from that mini game, it was absolute hell to try to get the Phoenix materia from Fort Condor when you don't understand what the fuck's going on with that game. So when I finally understood Fort Condor, I was like, oh my god, that's how you play the game. Like it just finally clicked and the game made sense. And so that's why it's fun to actually come back to Fort Condor and actually play it, and I was like, "Oh god, this game actually makes sense." I actually played the hell out of it. I love Yuffie. Yuffie was my favorite character. Keep in mind, I was 16 when I played Final Fantasy VII, so I had a huge crush on Yuffie, who was also 16 at the time. So So any love, if I accidentally say how much I love Yuffie in that regard, please remember that it's in that frame of reference and not.
It's very on brand for you either way, Gene. So
not me as a 42-year-old talking about a 16-year-old girl. Okay, I'm just making that clear. It's the same with Evangelion. That when I talk about Asuka, it's the same thing. I'm talking about in that frame of reference. Asuka and Yuffie are now both 42 years old. I love them both. They're both totally hot women who are 42 years old. That said, what else is there to say about Remake? I'm gonna go back into it right before Rebirth, just because it's been about a year or two. I did play when it came out on PS5, just to kind of re-experience the whole thing, and of course to play Intergrade. For me, it just reminds me how influential Hideaki Anno is. The fact that Final Fantasy just basically copied Evangelion. Brad, did you watch Evangelion, right?
I did a long time ago, but there's so many versions. I don't remember
the new
which
movies. Rebuild?
No, I haven't seen any of those.
Okay, well, I
know Dustin's giving me shit about that already.
Yeah. I guess spoilers, but Rebuild and Remake the approach their approaches to remaking the story very, very similarly.
Okay, I see.
If anything, so that's why when Remake happened, I was like, oh my god, he's doing Rebuild, or they're doing Rebuild. I'm wondering how Rebirth is going to replicate the big step out moment, as Maddie would call it. Where you walk out of the vault in Fallout and you see the wasteland before you, same as when you walk out of Midgar and then you see all of Gaia before you. How that's going to be should be a lot of fun. It's going to make for a banger intro, I think. Once we actually boot up Rebirth and see what that's like. But I'm really excited for it.
Yeah. In terms of Final Fantasy VII Remake, if I've been replaying it, I really liked the game before. I have some problems with it, but I think it's an excellent video game, no doubt. Once again, just to me, how well they nailed the characters and how well they understand those characters. Like, to me, everyone acts exactly how they should act in every situation. Every character, how they've done that is perfect.
Yeah.
Ben, you brought up earlier, like the Avalanche members, getting to see more of these characters because they're like pretty much nothing in the original game. There's like barely anything to them, but getting like so much time with them, in depth time, like going to Jesse's home with them and like finding about her past and all that stuff at Gold Saucer, I really appreciated. The combat is so fun. I love how they incorporated the ATB system in there with real-time combat.
Yep.
You get to see it, everything looks so damn flashy. Like seeing Cloud just do his like braver attack, it looks so great.
Yeah,
because it used to be his limit break. Now they just made it a normal attack.
Right.
I actually activate those attacks, and I just let the menu ride and just let the slow motion animation flow through.
Oh yeah,
okay.
Just to admire the animation and just see the fucking classic Braver attack in like full HD.
Yeah,
now it's awesome.
Square always has, I feel like, especially in their most recent years, like really good character animations in combat. So I can't. In Rebirth, it's pretty crazy what they do. But yeah, I think for the idea of the game being solely in Midgar at first is just kind of like deflating for everyone.
Yeah.
You know, we're all like, oh, God. But for the circumstances, how they did it, I think worked out really well, actually, in a lot of cases. Because, you know, you do get to like walk through like sector to sector. A lot of that, you do get some more time with the city. It would have been cool if you could have gone like topside, I think, and maybe explored a little around there.
Sure.
To do some
the
quests
only time
like that.
That is with the new Jesse side quests, right?
Yeah.
Right.
And like the beginning when you're running from after the first reactor blow up, you're up there for a little bit. But yeah, I could have gone for a little more of that. But I'm really happy with it. I really like all the new weapons you get and how using them gives you new abilities. I think that's really fun. The materia system is one of my favorite systems in gaming, period. So
dude, I think it's still the best. I think it's still the best Final Fantasy system ever. Like if Final Fantasy 17 was just a materia system all over again, I'd be like, dope. Like
I think it's so good.
You should have been doing that this whole fucking time.
Yeah.
I think, you know.
I think
like you had it perfectly in 7 and then you kept fucking with it, you know?
Yeah. They I think in the future I hope they make it so you can like save some material loadouts easier, so you can like swap between them much easier, which would be cool. But yeah, it's been great. I've been having an absolute blast playing through it, just seeing all these scenes that we all recognize from PS1 just recreated so faithfully yet so new in their design. It's just been a delight. And some of the boss fights, dude, are so good. I like forgot how good a lot of them are, like strategies you got to do and all that kind of stuff. Like I can't wait to fight Rufus again on the
dude, the Rufus fight and remake was so good, dude. Oh my god,
shoots the coin. I cannot wait to do that.
That's the best fight in remake for sure, I think, for me.
Yeah, it's so cool. So, but and the PS5 version is very nice of this game, like full 60 FPS, never drops. Some of the textures are still kind of whatever because it's a PS4 game, but it is just like a nice enhancement, very clean version of the game. But yeah, Final Fantasy VII Remake I think is a fantastic game and should be played by anyone who loves the original and new fans alike. I think there's that for everybody. We got some questions about it also. This is from Lachlan M. Brosnan. Greetings, sexy summoners. I've never played a Final Fantasy game, and I'm a little unsure of which one to leap into. Is Final Fantasy VII Remake a good entry point? Should I play the original Final Fantasy VII first? Cheers, boys.
Yes.
This is a tough question.
Yeah.
I say you should play. Well, I don't know. Well, I'll let you guys go first.
So I would say if you have time, if you got the time or whatever, if you got time, I would recommend playing the original first. If you got time, and if you're okay with some PS1 style games. Like I know not everyone is into those games, but 7's really good in my opinion, still holds up very, very well. Because
don't prefer to use a guide because some of the stuff is a little weird.
Use a guide, do what you got to do. No problem. No like the PS4 version, or I think all the newer port versions have like cheats built in too.
Yep.
So you can just cruise through the game if you want.
Yep.
Because
you
will
can
get
double the speed. You can be level 99. You can always have limit breaks, so you can just blast through the game.
So you can blast through it if you want.
Yeah.
But yeah, because you will have a lot more context, and I think you'll appreciate moments much more in the trilogy of games that are coming.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people that hop into Final Fantasy VII Remake first, though, or have never played a game, and they still had a really good time. They felt like, I'm sure they were confused at some moments, but I don't.
Yeah.
I felt like a lot of them. What I heard from them was like they didn't feel left out when they played it for the first time. I would recommend playing the original, but you could still play Remake because many people did, and the developers know many people are going to play it for the first time. And if, like, honestly, if you have time, you should play Crisis Core also before Rebirth. Like, you should play the remake or the original, then you can play the remake, then play Crisis Core, then go to Rebirth.
Yeah.
Ideally, if you have time. I know that's a lot to do. But
the thing I always tell people with questions like this about whatever game is, if playing the original and spending that time is going to distract you from getting to the remake afterwards, or you're going to feel unmotivated because you like, oh, I just played this game or whatever, then that's fine. Just play the remake. But I think if you want to really, like, there are points in Remake where you're like, I know that's like something from the original game, but well, at least this is how I think you would feel if you hadn't played the original game. It's like, I know that's going back to something, but I don't know what it is, so it's meaningless. It means so much more.
Straight up, there's no way you can actually understand Final Fantasy VII Remake without playing the original Final Fantasy VII. There's absolutely there is no universe in that you can completely understand a remake without playing the original.
No, you won't get everything.
The original one.
But I think
the original one. You can play the remake first. But if you want to understand the remake completely, you need to play the original one. So.
Yeah.
I think there are people who would make that same argument about God of War 2018. I don't know if I agree because it's not as deep, but I think that, again, that was one of those things where people were asking me, like, should I play the original God of Wars before I play 2018? And I was like, if it's going to distract you from playing 2018 and you know yourself well enough, just play 2018. It's fine. But if you play the earlier ones, it's going to mean so much more. And I think that's where I'm at with Final Fantasy VII, is that, like, it's still going to be a phenomenal game, Remake is. But it's going to be, like, 2 times phenomenal if you play the original first, for sure.
Yeah.
What's funny with your God of War example is that 2018 is more of a sequel to the original trilogy than Remake is to the original one. And yet, I think 2018 distinguishes itself as a more unique product better than
absolutely
does.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah, agreed.
And also, honestly, God of War and FF7 Remake have a lot in common, you know?
This next one's from Grant. Hey, gents. Since you're discussing Final Fantasy VII, I have one question. Aerith or Tifa? Think hard about this.
Next question.
Yeah, it's Tifa for me.
Yeah.
It's also Tifa for me. She has a better theme song. She has a better theme song too. You know, the theme song in Nibelheim, you know?
Yeah.
Come on. That's a childhood love theme song, you know?
Yeah, I like that scene at them at the water tower when they're kids. And I feel like Tifa has always had Cloud's back super hard throughout. And she does throughout all the games.
There's something about the childhood fling, romance, you know, crush, whatever you want to call it.
The unrequited love
is always the childhood callback is always going to beat out the new lover in real life and in the game. So,
and in like Crisis Core, you get some things going on where I'm like, I don't want Aerith with Cloud.
Exactly. I was like, you know what? I'm good on Aerith. I'm not going to touch her even. Honestly, I'm not even going to touch her. You know,
anybody asking that question seriously, get out of my life. It's always been Tifa, and it always will be Tifa.
It's got to be Tifa. I mean, you know, obviously Aerith is a wonderful girl. I actually know the voice actor for the new Aerith, Brianna White.
Oh, cool.
She's super cool.
But hey, some people though, they add in a little extra now. This in the remake era. People throwing Jesse into that conversation now too.
Yeah,
man.
Well, I mean, Ben was saying, they gave us lots of reasons to like Jesse. I was like, they gave us like a little too. They gave us too many reasons to like Jesse. Like they went overboard in terms of like Jesse's the third girl. I'm just like, fuck though, you know?
Yeah, yeah. I think she's got too much baggage.
She does.
Jesse. Yeah.
Everyone, I feel like
She
everyone's
just
got
wanted to be
baggage.
she just wanted to be a star of the stage, though. You know?
She wanted to, but her dad and like blowing people up, I guess.
Oh, okay, sure.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's what I love, baby.
Yeah, I wonder if they'll tie that into the date scene in Gold Saucer or anything like that. How many variations it'll have. All right, this is from Dylan Michael. Hey, Summoners. Regarding Final Fantasy VII Remake, I was wondering how you felt about the ratio of old stuff versus new stuff in the game. The original game is a top 5 game for me, so seeing moments from it recreated in modern graphics brings me to borderline tears.
Mhm.
But stuff like finding a lost cat, playing hide and seek with kids, and Chadley, fuck Chadley, really annoys me. I kind of hope they dial it back, or they dial it a little back for Rebirth and let me enjoy the rest of this masterful remake. Am I just a bitter or purist? Thanks, guys.
No, I agree.
A lot of the stuff you mentioned is just side quests.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So those are optional. Chadley, I won't stand for Chadley slander, okay? I will stand Chadley so hard. He lets me do those sick VR missions, man.
Yes.
Getting to fight those summons. He's like a weird Hojo robot thing. I love Chadley, and I'm glad to see him come back in the remake.
I love Chadley because he looks like he's from a completely different game, and I love it for that.
Yeah.
You know? He's awesome.
Dylan, you got to give Chadley another chance. You got to learn to love it. And if you get some bullshit side quests, man, just fucking skip them, dude. Yeah, just skip them, dude.
That's the thing. The first run, the game kind of sucks because like you do all these side quests, and it's like, oh man, it's what Dustin was talking about. Like these are 100% filler, you know. And then obviously, like there's a good part of the main quest as well that feels filler. Like maybe we didn't need to see Red climb up and flip that switch like for the 5th time. You know? Like, maybe we didn't need to see that animation again for the 5th time, but there's definitely some padding in remake. I feel like there would be less padding in Rebirth because for remake they were remaking the shortest part of the game, and then now we're in the meat. We're in the real meat and potatoes of Final Fantasy VII. This is the real like heart of Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah, you know? I think they said if you do everything in Rebirth, it's like 100 hours.
Oh, dope!
And I did everything in 7. Or remake originally in like 48, I think. Like everything.
Yeah. Remake took about like 50 hours for sure.
So
like a
Rebirth's going to be
even like doing all the
beast.
VR missions and everything too, right?
Yeah. Rebirth's going to be a beast. So settle in. But yeah, it is. Midgar is like the smallest part of that game. Yeah. It's like nothing. Once you like replay the game, you're like, oh, it was a lot shorter than I remembered.
Yeah, even if you replay it, it's a little shorter than you remembered. But so that's why those parts when they stretch it out feel more like oh, they're really stretching out here, you know?
Yeah. All right, boys. Next game on the list. I'm very curious about this one because I love this game, but it's kind of a black hole for LSM. I feel like over the years, but maybe there's a glimmer of hope now. Maybe a glimmer, and that is Final Fantasy XIV. Ben, you've played a little bit of the beginning of the game. You love MMOs, you told me, or you
wow. First time in FF14, Ben. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm really excited to hear about this. I did not know.
Yeah, because I was hyping up 14.
Yeah.
We got them.
I mean, I've always liked MMOs, and I have kind of a problem with, living live service games and multiplayer in general. And I don't mean a problem like I get addicted and don't take care of my family. I mean, like, I stop playing single player games that I want to play because I'm so invested in something. As you can tell with my 3,500 hours of Sea of Thieves in like 3 years. But so yeah, Brad was hyping it up, and I said, well, just out of because I care about my job, I got to take it seriously and have somebody else here with them because nobody else in the company is interested. And I've always looked at it. I've played other MMOs in the past, of course, and Final Fantasy XIV. I'm looking for a good MMO. What's a good one? The first result always comes up is Final Fantasy XIV or World of Warcraft. My World of Warcraft days are long behind me, hopefully. I can't do it again. So, yeah, I've only probably got, I'd say probably 12 hours in the game. I think I'm level 15 or so. I accidentally picked... Well, not accidentally. I thought I picked like a warrior type character, and I'm a thaumaturge.
Okay.
I don't know. You can change classes?
You can change classes anytime.
Okay. Well, apparently I immediately changed classes to Thaumaturge right when I started the game.
Okay.
And didn't mean to. So now that I know that, I'll go. 'Cause I did figure out right at the last hour I was playing, I was like, oh, I can be a different class here.
Yeah.
But I don't know how that works yet. So yeah. So obviously I haven't really gotten into the meat of the game. I very much like the way it controls. I'm playing mouse and keyboard. I like the way it controls compared to many other MMOs. It feels more intuitive, feels more like a third person game than a traditional MMO. At least in the ones like I most recently played Guild Wars. I hate the way the camera controls in that. But I really like the way this one does. And so I've just started getting into it. Just doing tons of fetch quests and trying to figure out what all the little icons on the map means and talking to every NPC I see. So that's really all the more
what city are you in? Is it Ulda or
it's Ulda? Yeah, it's like a big castle looking. Yeah,
in the desert. Yeah, okay, cool. All right, that's where Thaumaturge starts. Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
but yeah, you could change class. I think you just have to go to the class people or something like that. Then you can just switch to. I think it's Marauder for you. It'll be Marauder because that turns into Warrior.
Okay, gotcha.
Because in 14, you can't. Not all the classes are available to you right when you start. You like have to level up to unlock certain jobs. Like level 30, you can unlock Dark Knight and stuff like that.
Right, I did see that. Yeah, but yeah, I like it so far. No, you go ahead.
Tell me, like, you're playing a Realm Reborn, and in my opinion, Realm Reborn is like, I like the zones in Realm Reborn a lot, but it is by far the worst in terms of story and getting you invested in the world. I think once you get to Heavensward, which is the next one, and it like really goes off and like really starts getting in territory of talking about Final Fantasy XIV being one of the best Final Fantasy games in general.
Yeah.
So how are you feeling about, like, you've probably met Alpha No, I assume. He's the white hair little guy. You're doing stuff with him like that. How are you feeling about all that right now?
I'm liking it. I feel like right now, and the reason I'm still playing, well, one, I like fetch questy stuff, quite honestly, but the reason I'm still playing is because I've heard from so many people that it has some of the best story in Final Fantasies.
It does.
So I'm interested in that. But right now, like some of the stories I'm doing, some of the little things, it's just like, hey, run over here and give this to that guy and stuff like that. So I like it. I like the characters. I would like it more if there was more substance so far. But I also didn't expect that. Like, pretty much, and that's the reason I fall off of so many MMOs when I start them, is either they're just not that good or it just takes too long for me to get into the meat.
Got it.
So I like it enough that I'm still playing after, a dozen hours, but I haven't really found anything. If I weren't playing it along with a lot of the people in the Discord, or because you mentioned wanting to play, if I weren't playing it for those reasons, then I don't know if I would. I don't know if I would have stuck with it. But it's definitely not boring. I'm having fun. The combat's fun. I'm liking it. It looks, for as old as the game as it is, it looks really nice. Some of the cutscenes, of course, are a little goofy, but it's not exactly a looker, but compared to something like World of Warcraft, which I have many hours in the past, it's definitely got a lot of niceties that it doesn't have. So it's I'm here for a little while at least. I signed up for the free trial. I think you go up to level 70 with that. Yeah,
you can go through like 2 expansions through that.
Okay.
And here's the one free.
Yeah. Here's the one thing about the free trial that I think is, there's a lot of stuff with it that I'm like, okay, yeah, you can't be that class without this. You can't do that mission, whatever. I'm fine with that. The one thing that absolutely sucks about the free trial, I hopped in with my buddy Justin, who had played before, and he was like, I'll start a new character and play with you. You can't be friends with someone if you are on the free trial. And I'm like,
I see.
Okay, I get it, but also why? Like, do they not want you exchanging stuff that you have? I don't know. They don't want your friend giving you, I don't know, whatever it is. But that's the big drawback for me. Just a caveat to people, like, go ahead and pay the $15 a month if you want to play with your friends, because otherwise you're going to be in different instances, even if you're in the same server.
I think if you're maybe really curious, like you don't know if you even like MMOs or anything like that, and you don't have anyone to play with maybe right away, then the free trial is really good in that sense. But like if you're in Ben's position, probably you could probably just get it. You usually can buy like the normal version includes like a ton of expansions, except
Mhm.
the most recent one usually. So
Yeah.
you can still get, and that's still a ton of content.
Right.
But yeah, Final Fantasy 14, it is an MMO. Oh yeah, actually I should ask you this. Have you done a dungeon yet or anything like
No.
that? Okay,
Nope.
so you're still
haven't
pretty
played it.
early. Got
Yeah,
it.
you're
So
really
yeah,
early then.
you
Yeah.
haven't done
Yeah.
any of the content yet or anything like that.
Right.
That's cool.
No, I haven't. Yeah, and I have this problem in single player games too. I get bogged down on side content. So like
okay.
anytime I'm seeing and honestly, a lot of this is just because I'm trying to figure out how it works. But anytime I see an exclamation point above someone's head, I'm like, well, I'm doing what they want next.
Mhm.
So I mean, I am progressing the main path. I'm not just doing the side content, but I'm definitely doing
A
a
lot.
lot more than if I were trying to mainline
Sure.
it.
Yeah,
For sure.
that's
Yeah.
totally fine. Yeah, I think if you're just doing what you feel like doing, you'll have more fun, kind of thing
Yeah.
like that. And maybe when you switch to the job you wanted originally,
Yeah.
you might have a little more fun.
There's
But,
part of me that wants to stay with it because pretty much anytime the first time I play a game with multiple classes, I play something that can just beat the shit out of everybody.
Mm-mm.
And I don't tend to go for more magic characters right away or
Yeah.
rogues or anything. But I think for the fact that you can switch constantly, that you can switch,
Yeah.
as long as you do their
On the
quests,
fly, yeah.
I may switch over and then buff that up and then move on to something else again too.
Sure,
and
yeah.
just test them all out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I'm really excited for you to like do your first dungeon.
Yeah.
And you could do it's a lot of that is so solo friendly too, because you can do
Right.
a lot of those with bots if you want. So you don't have
Yeah.
to queue up with normal people. Like if you're not comfortable
Yeah.
quite yet with your skills, you can play with bots. Obviously, they're not as efficient as real players
Sure.
and stuff like that. But if you want to like test the waters and all that good stuff, it's a nice feature to have.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm glad you're enjoying it. It's really cool. Dawn Trail is going to be out in the summer, so I'll be definitely hopping into it back. I'll probably get into it a little before then because I have to do some patch content for Endwalker. But
Mhm.
yeah, I think the journey just kind of gets better and better as it goes on. So I'm hoping you get a little further in.
Yeah.
But yeah, Final Fantasy 14 is a fantastic game. And I think even if you're just a Final Fantasy fan, you can still have a good time in there because it is absolutely still a Final Fantasy game.
Yeah.
At its heart.
That's really what it is for me is that, I played all the early Final Fantasies. I've played the last few.
Mhm.
I missed some in the middle there, probably 9, 10, which from what I understand is fine by most people's standards. I'll probably go back and play them eventually, but I just knew like with so many people who love Final Fantasy and who love MMOs talking highly about it, that for me to at least not experience any of it, I felt like I was doing myself a disservice.
Yeah.
It's very, the beginning hours are very much what I expected. But you mentioned the expansions. I didn't know. I know every MMO operates a little differently.
Mhm.
The expansions are an additional, like you have to buy the expansions plus the monthly fee still, right? It's not included.
So like, let's say if you're going to move on to Heaven's Ward, I think you buy, it's like the all-in-one thing. So how they sell it now, I believe, is you buy this box and it has every expansion on it except the most recent one, which would be Endwalker. So you'd get that one, yeah. And you'd be good up till Endwalker.
Okay, cool.
So yeah, because like in the game, there's a main story quest. If you just want story, you want to focus on that, you can totally do all that. But yeah, as you get further in the game, your job will get more interesting to play. You'll get a lot more fun tools like that, and you can unlock other jobs that are really cool. Like I think Dark Knight's really fun as a tank. I really like that.
Okay.
And the Gunbreaker, you have a gun blade. You're basically Squall.
Right.
You can get his jacket and you can use his gun blade, so it's really fun. It is a theme park for Final Fantasy, because you could fight bosses like Kefka.
Sure.
They got stuff like that in the game, like Final Fantasy IV stuff sprinkled throughout all of Endwalker.
Yeah.
So it's definitely like, as a Final Fantasy fan, you will get a lot more out of the game too.
Yeah. Nice.
But yeah, you just got to get through Realm Reborn mostly.
Right. Yeah.
Which is the hardest part. Got a question from Kramer. Hello, summoners. I have a simple question when it comes to FF14. As someone who is always debating about finally jumping in, what is the best class to start with? I'm looking for the most relaxing approach to just have a fun and experiencing that lasts a long story. Kramer, not Cosmo. That's a Seinfeld reference, I believe.
Yeah.
Basically, I would just say any DPS character is easier to start out with over healer or tank. It's pretty easy to do tanking and healing at that level, but it's still less pressure. You only have to worry about yourself. You don't have to worry about your party members getting killed as so much because of your you messing up or stuff like that.
Yeah, because you weren't drawing aggro enough or whatever. Because that always feels bad when you screw up as a tank and you're like, oh, yeah. When you screw up as a tank, the entire party falls apart.
It can at times.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you're just like a DPS, like Ben's a DPS. He's just casting magic spells right now. He'll eventually turn into a black mage, which is fun. When I first played Realm Reborn, when it came out, I played Dragoon because Dragoons are always sick.
I did too. I didn't want to be a tank or a healer.
Yeah, I was like, I'll be DPS for that reason. But, there's like Monk, which is fine too. There's a Bard if you want to do some ranged DPS. Yeah, just pretty much any of the DPSs are good picks for the beginners to play as. Nathan Densley wrote in, "Hello, summoning boys. I've been making my way through all the Final Fantasy games. Currently replaying Pixel Remaster 5. I wanted to eventually play FF14, but I am overwhelmed thinking about starting, as it would probably be months of playtime. Is this true? Am I exaggerating how much there is in the game? But is it true what people say about how good it is? Thanks for your work." It'll take you a while to get through all the expansions, depending on your pace and if you want to do side stuff. I'm trying to recall how long it takes to get through a story. For some of them, I'm trying to remember, like Endwalker. It took me like 2 weeks, I think. Like, I didn't play 24/7 either, but I think it took me like 2 weeks to get through the story or something like that. So
it took me a month to beat vanilla. And so for people who don't know, my experience with FF14 is that I finished all of vanilla. I finished all of Realm Reborn. I didn't touch a single expansion, but I did beat a Realm Reborn. So I got through the hard part, and then I haven't touched the game since. Yeah, but it took me about a month to get through that. So
they shortened a Realm Reborn a lot too. They cut out a lot of content to make it easier to get through. Yeah, because it was long when it came out. Yeah. And things are a little simpler now. You level up faster and all that.
You can level up a lot faster. Yeah, and that's what I did. Yeah.
So, but like, it is a commitment, but how I treat it is, I don't think you have to play everything at once. You play an expansion, take a break, play something else if you want, and just come back later to another one. Maybe if you play every single, like, I know people get obsessed and they just go through it all at once, but I don't think you should have to worry about that. You just kind of go at your flow, man. Enjoy your pace. You don't want to like burn through and burn yourself out. That's what I worry about for people.
The worst part about MMOs or about modern MMOs is a lot of them have subscription fees.
Yes.
But the really nice part is that if you're done playing for a month or two, you just cancel it.
Just cancel it.
Yeah.
You don't got to stay subscribed.
It's free for so many months.
If you do the trial, it's free. So just take your time. The hardest part is always just jumping in and staying with it for a little bit.
Yeah.
The hardest part is definitely staying with it, because once you leave like I did, then it's been so hard for me to get back into it.
It's daunting, right? Yeah.
Trust me. I know that this is like a huge like blind spot for LSM. And for me too. I wish I played Heavensward, and I want to, and I honestly did try to again, maybe like a year or so ago, and I was just like, okay, I don't have time for this right now. But yeah, for even playing the quote unquote worst part of FF14, dear reader, I still had an amazing time.
Yeah, it's still good.
It's still an incredible Final Fantasy experience with some locations and worlds and music that you won't believe. It is really good. So,
they got the gold saucer in there. It's all good. One more. John Call McCormick. Hey guys, what dream Final Fantasy XIV crossover do you want? I thought the Nier one was fantastic. From the raids to the costumes you can earn, the music, everything. What would you like to see given a similar treatment? I would love the Yakuza series crossover. Not because it would make any narrative sense, but purely so I could strut around Eorzea and Majima's jacket like a fucking hero. What's yours?
Dude. Yeah.
Have you seen those? Have you seen the Nier stuff, Gene?
No, I was going to ask you about that.
I haven't seen the Nier stuff, mostly
Wow.
because I heard that there was a lot of good story stuff in it. I just really didn't want to spoil it. I'm like, dude, I don't even want to hear the music because I'm sure
it's really cool, dude.
The music
It's
remix
really
they did
cool
for that. Yeah. My best buddy played it and he never played Nier, and he was like, "Oh, that was really cool. It made me want to play Nier." I was like, "I've been fucking telling you to play Nier this whole time."
Yeah.
You know,
Gene, you can get their outfits. You can get 9S's and B2 or 2B's outfit.
Yeah.
For your characters, you can get some of their weapons.
Yeah,
it's cool, man.
That's the thing about FF14 is that you can just be Cloud in FF14. You know, so
yeah, I don't know if you can get that actually anymore. His outfit.
You used to be able to, yeah. You used to be able to. Or you used to be able to just be like Lightning, you know, for example.
Yeah, their outfit. Yeah, and they're adding 16, so you'll be able to get Clive's outfit and Torgal as a mount.
Oh,
so that'd be sick.
Dude.
Yeah,
is the Nier stuff still in it,
dude? See, like it's shit like that gets me that makes me think like, man, I've been missing out this whole time. You know?
Yeah, there's fucking Monster Hunter event in it where you could fight Rathalos. Still in there, man. You can get him as a mount.
I did not even know that. Now I'm more excited.
Yeah, there's a lot of cool crossovers in this game. There's Ivalice crossover, Gene.
Yeah. Look. I played FF14 and I almost lost my job because of it. It had a tangible impact on my job to the point where my boss was pulling me in, and he was like, "I noticed that you've been coming into work later and leaving work earlier than usual, and you look very tired." And I was like, "Yeah," and we had the conversation like twice in a month, and he was like you're in trouble because you keep coming in late and leaving early. I was yeah. And it was purely because I was playing fucking Final Fantasy 14 and I was really just like not doing my job. I was just like, I don't want to do my job right now. I'm gonna like not just check out here mentally and then just go home early and then play Final Fantasy 14. And I did that for a month, and I was like, I am fucking myself over right now. And I need to stop, and I need to stop this game because I'm not playing this game in a healthy way. But it can really be that good. That's the issue, you know?
Yeah.
So
it's really good.
It's really good.
Yeah, it's really good. But yeah, like we said, free trial if you're curious about it.
That's why it scares me when A Realm Reborn, like I like A Realm Reborn did suck, but I still had a great time. So if you're telling me that the rest of the Final Fantasy 14 is possibly the best Final Fantasy ever, that's scary. That's a scary notion.
Probably one of the top villains also of all time.
Exactly. Yeah. That drives me crazy, you know?
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Yeah, I do need to check this out someday, though.
It's a commitment, but usually if you stick with it, it's very rewarding.
Yeah. And they're doing all the best. Like they added bot-in support, you know, because you know, again, like, you know, I'm not really able to gather a party anymore, you know. So the fact that they made the game playable for me now at this point in my life is
Gene. If you resub anytime, I will resub. We'll party with Ben. We'll try to get Dustin on there.
Oh yeah.
People in the LSM community want to play. We can make our own little.
You know what?
Guild.
That's true. Has Dustin ever played?
He's played a little.
He did, yeah.
Okay.
A little.
Wow.
A couple hours.
All three of us just starting out then again? That could be
pretty
fun.
much.
I don't know.
Pretty much. All right. Let's move on to our next game. Gene, I believe you've been playing this. Control.
Yeah, I played Control for a little bit in the past few months, really in light of course, after Alan Wake 2.
Yes.
So I really wanted to go back to Control because I feel like I didn't really pay attention too much to the story. At least, and I never played the Alan Wake expansion.
Same.
Control DLC, quote unquote AWE, which stands for Alter World Event, but could mean Alan Wake expansion. So I finally played that. I played through all Control on PC, and I finally played through it at the AW DLC just to kind of see how it connects to Alan Wake 2. And I also played Alan Wake 1 as well. And what blew my mind was the fact that Alan Wake 1 had a reference to Control 9 years later. I could not believe that a small throwaway line. And then there's a part in Alan Wake 1, not really a spoiler, where you tell the sheriff to where you tell your buddy to stay behind at the sheriff station to call a bunch of people to let them know that the Alan Wake things are happening in 2010. And then when you stick around and listen to those phone calls, that actually bleeds into what actually happens in Control, which is insane to me. The character is actually letting the characters know in Control that all the stuff in Alan Wake 1 is happening. So I can't believe that Remedy had the forethought to be able to kind of lay the groundwork for something like that back then. But also, I really wanted to play Control to see how differently it played from Alan Wake 2. One of the weird things about Alan Wake 2 is that it didn't control as well. And I thought that was very strange because Remedy games are top tier, top of the class in terms of third person shooting gameplay, and part of that is because Control controlled excellently,
Yeah.
So I went back to Control to kind of feel that, and I was like, yeah, they definitely borked their own Control for Alan Wake 2 to make it feel more like like a survival horror game. Because in Control, she feels like a god, and she controls like a god, and I think that is the point that she is kind of sort of empowered in the sense that she able to make these crack shots and throw things around very easily. So it's just a lot of fun. It's just fun to see how different the level design is in Control versus Alan Wake 2. I was really, even when I played Control initially, I was really struck by how much of a Metroidvania it almost felt like. And it's not really a Metroidvania. It kind of is. Like you did.
I'd say this. Elements
actually, you kind of
definitely.
did. You did need the flying ability to access some areas. So in a way, it was pretty much a Metroidvania light. So I thought it was really fascinating that Alan Wake 2 kind of expanded upon that and evolved it into creating kind of this open world survival horror space, kind of mixture between Resident Evil Village and Evil Within 2. If you played either of those games, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So I just wanted to play Control really to kind of see the evolution of Remedy games and how important it was to eventually leading into Alan Wake 2. I also watched the Digital Foundry's interview with the Alan Wake 2 technology developers, and they talked about how different it was building the tech for Control versus Alan Wake 2. Whereas in Control, all of it was indoor environment, so the lighting is always very static and very, very not very fluid, whereas in Alan Wake 2, like it's outdoors and it's the sun and it's shadows and it's leaves and there's all these different elements that are moving around versus Control that just had desks and paper. So that's why they were able to like make all the particle effects and Control so amazing, because there wasn't a lot going on elsewhere, so they could have a lot of dust and bricks and paper
in rooms
and wood, shit falling apart. It was wonderful.
So. I love the Oldest House, the setting of that game.
Yeah.
I find it so like creepy, but also kind of something comforting about it to me. I don't quite know why, but it's just like such a fascinating space to be in. And seeing like throwing desks and seeing papers fly everywhere is just so cool, man. It's so fun.
Yeah, it totally reminded me of Max Payne 1 and the way like shit flew apart whenever you were having those gunfights.
Definitely.
So they're like, you definitely see again that Remedy touch all throughout, even in Control.
Michael Elady wrote in, could we talk about how overrated Control is? The map is simply awful. The level design is all samey, making it easy to get confused. Enemies respawn way too frequently, and the main plot is pretty barren with no satisfying conclusion. Oh, did I mention there are also so many documents to read that the Bible feels like a novella in comparison? I enjoyed the game despite all these issues, but man, people are talking about Control as if it's Remedy's magnum opus. No, it's not. Even before Alan Wake 2 came out. All right, Michael, spicy take right there. There's some stuff I agree for sure. The map was very bad when it came out. I remember very bad.
I was very happy with Alan Wake 2's map because I was like, oh my god, they actually made a good map that makes sense, that I can read.
Yeah, and the documents, there were way too many documents in that game.
They definitely
some of them were long.
They
Like
definitely relied on reading the document as like a story trope.
Yeah, they rely on it, and there's way too many where I just gave up reading most of them.
Yeah. I think after I finished it, I went back, and I mean, obviously there's some documents I didn't get, but I just went and read them online because I was like, I just want to play the game. I'm fine with pausing and reading a little bit. Like we talked on the Alan Wake 2 spoiler cast, Gene, about how I was just so obsessed that I literally consumed every word, and whether written or spoken, in that entire game. But with Control, it just constantly felt overwhelming. So yeah, I would agree. That's a knock, but
I also agree, which is why, like, again, remember when I said I didn't really pay attention to the story the first time I played it? It was absolutely because I was not reading any of the documents whatsoever, because there were so many of them. So in the second playthrough, you know, I'm not in such a rush to play through Control. I don't really give a shit. So I'm actually literally going room to room, picking up the document, reading it the whole thing, because, you know, because I'm looking for Alan Wake lore now, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think it was until, obviously all of their games have always had really good narratives, really good stories, but I don't really think it was until Alan Wake 2 that I realized the depth of some of them and like how meaningful some of them were. So in Control, when that happened, I wasn't really looking for the story. I thought it was, you know, I was just playing it because it was a fun game. And then I did go back and read it and, you know, filled in some of the gaps, read some synopsis, whatever. But it wasn't really until I played Alan Wake 2 that I realized like how important all of that stuff is to the universe. And so that definitely puts things in Control in a different light, but it makes it even more egregious how obtuse it is to read through all of the documents because they're so important, in my opinion.
They are important. And you're right, Ben, in that part of the reason why I went back to Control was to have a deeper appreciation for it after Alan Wake 2. And I came away with new interpretations of Control. You know, in Alan Wake 2, this isn't a spoiler. It's literally one of the first things he says, but he's always talking about how the story needs to stick to the genre, right? Because he's trying to write himself out, and so it's a horror story, so it has to be a horror story. It has to stick by these rules. And then part of the lesson of Alan Wake 2 is Alan Wake learning that these are self-imposed rules that he's making for himself. And then I see the same thing happen in Control, where Control is an entire federal agency about people trying to categorize dreams and hopes and fears. And then that's why there's all these filing cabinets around the oldest house, because, you know, that represents a human being, this incessant, like, futile need to just categorize everything, like our feelings, you know, and stick into genres and literally put them into boxes, you know. So that's why I felt like Alan Wake 2 even made Control even better for me. So I don't know. If you really didn't like Control, I totally get it. Everything you said about Control is valid and it totally makes sense, because I agree with them too. But try going back to it, because I think what Ben said is true. I think it might deepen your appreciation for Control after playing Alan Wake 2.
Yeah, and I think Control, like, I think the gameplay itself is just fun.
Yeah,
like the guns are fun, the throwing stuff's fun, gliding around as Jesse is a lot of fun. I think it's a really good game.
The part they said about it being like the level design being samey, I don't know that I disagree with that, but I think it's important because the oldest house is supposed to be kind of creepy and weird, and like you don't really know where you are. And the map, I can't use that same excuse. The map's just garbage, but I think the fact that it does feel like a little bit like you have I already been here before, and you definitely haven't, kind of adds to the mystique of the setting. Yeah, maybe that's just an excuse, but
no, I think it's intentional. I think it's totally intentional. And then if you walk around DC, this is exactly what these buildings look like. You know, so they did that. It all does look the same. You know.
Yeah, I think that was
it's like saying the grassy field has too much grass, basically. You know.
Yeah.
Like you are complaining about the thing that it is supposed to be.
Right.
Zeke the plumber wrote in. Big Brad, Voodoo Daddy, Big Dick Ben, and Gene Park from the Washington Post. Control is one of my favorite games of all time. It's one of a select few that I both platinum on PS5 and also 100%ed on PC. I still hop into it from time to time just to wreck some shit with Jesse. I wonder, what do y'all want from the sequel? Larger, more open areas? More segments like the Ashtray Maze? More Alan Wake tie-ins? Thanks and keep on bussin'. Thank you, Zeke. Sequel. What are we talking here? Will it be in the oldest house again? Will it be somewhere else?
I don't have any reason to know or not know this, but I think the oldest house will be a part of it, but I don't think that's going to be the main setting. Like maybe you start there, maybe you end there. I don't know. But you got to go somewhere else. And whether that's through normal means or paranormal, I don't know. But they've got to mix it up because even though I think it's a strength to the environment, it using the same environment again it would be old. Would get old.
I think it would be smart to use the oldest house as some kind of base or like even a hub world, to start there. And because the oldest house is such a compelling location. It's called the oldest house. Like what a metal name for a location, It's awesome. So I do feel like that it definitely would need to be central and maybe even be a big chunk of the game, but definitely it would need to diversify to the earlier reader's point. I don't think we could repeat that trick again for sure.
Yeah.
This isn't a Tears of the Kingdom bit where we can use like Hyrule again.
Yeah,
the oldest house is in Hyrule.
I'll say from the sequel, I want less documents to read.
Sure.
Cut back on that. Fix the map a little more. And I wonder if they're going to throw in characters from other games, like maybe not even Alan Wake, but like maybe Saga will get tied into it or somehow, or whoever, or like Mr. Door or something like that. Who knows?
Make it their end game.
Yeah,
bring all the characters that they have access to together.
They're going to get.
There's got to be some deal that can be worked out with even the Max Payne characters and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited for the potential of like a Remedy endgame type game where we just see Jesse and Alan Wake and Max Payne, with the hero shot,
Yeah, that'd be sweet. Yeah. But yeah, we definitely
Jesse
know this
just flying over everybody,
Yeah, I want to see some crazy new powers for Jesse. I don't really know off the top of my head what I would like, but keep expanding on kind of that. She feels like the one character you can really cut loose with, giving her insane powers.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I almost wonder. I was almost disappointed in the amount of powers you didn't get in Control 1. Because it's mostly just relegated to throwing stuff and guarding and flying, right?
Yeah, because the gun.
And I was like, I wish we could have gotten at least like maybe 1 or 2 more powers, But the powers they used were really, really good, So I'm glad they focused on those.
They were. I don't know if you guys know this. I can't recall if Quantum Break is in this universe or not. Do you know?
It is kind of ish, yeah. Alan Wake 2 is the game that tries to bring Quantum Break in, because that's where Warland Door is from.
Yeah.
Okay, but the cop isn't the guy from Quantum Break though. The sheriff.
He's in Alan Wake 2. He's in Alan Wake 2.
Yeah, but he's not like the same character.
Because Microsoft still owns. Yeah, Microsoft still owns Quantum Break, so
I think
that's why they need a Tim Breaker,
Yeah, they haven't officially said that it's part of the same universe, but like if you really look at they can't. I don't think they legally can. I don't know all the legalities there, but because they don't own the IP, I don't think they can say that. But like it is, if you look at it,
maybe they can work something out.
Yeah,
with Microsoft, that'd be sweet. Any final Control thoughts? Anything else? I can't really think about much. Just really weird boss battles. I remember, like the fridge, something like that.
The fridge boss. Yeah. I like the fridge. The fridge location itself is like one of the most memorable. I mean, imagine like what a weird portion of hell that would be to just stare at the fridge for
so
days
weird.
and days and days. Like what a horrifying thought that is. Oh my god.
All right, let's move on to our final game, Death Stranding. Gene, you've been playing this again. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, I've been on like I said, I've been on a Kojima binge right now because it all started with Alan Wake 2, and I don't know if I explained it on one of our podcasts before, but part of it is because Alan Wake 2 is such a game that's a product of an auteur, right? Sam Lake. Sam Lake is literally all over this fucking game, and then of course it made me think about our other favorite auteur and what makes his game special. And then I realized I never actually touched Death Stranding on Director's Cut on the PC before. And I never even really played through that much of it on the PS5. I only transferred my PS4 save over to the PS5, and then I started to get all the new stuff, including the Buddy Bot in Death Stranding Director's Cut, where you get a little Metal Gear robot with legs, with sexy legs, and the sexy leg robot will basically carry the stuff around for you, or sometimes carry you if you want.
Oh.
So yeah, I basically restarted all of Death Stranding all over again, and I never thought that Death Stranding would be the kind of game that I could like just replay. When I finished it, I thought, well, I'm never replaying that game ever again, and then I just replayed it, and then I just kept replaying it. And I'm still trying to figure out like what about Death Stranding makes it feel so good to play and finish. And I know we have a lot of questions about that. But it's just really rewarding to just sit, 5-star delivery. Again, I talk about the Kojima UI and how satisfying that is. And if you're the kind of person who thinks Resident Evil 4 Attaché Case Edition sounds like a great idea for a video game, then I feel like you will love Death Stranding, because that's what Death Stranding is. It's basically fitting things around and making sure things fit into your inventory of the video game, and that's what I love about it. It just makes it's what is that? What was that game, that indie game that went viral last year, Packing or something?
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, that sounds right.
There was a game about packing your clothes or whatever, and that went viral, and people love that. And I was like, that's Death Stranding right there. Death Stranding is entirely a game about just packing shit on your back and just going. So it's not even really about the story. I'm skipping all the cutscenes when I'm playing Death Stranding. I'm not playing it just to relive the story again. I'm playing it to relive the experience of being able to deliver these packages and unlocking all this fun new gear to be able to play in this world.
Before you go further, hold on.
Yeah.
Cormac wrote in, "Hello, motherfuckers. As someone who has yet to play Death Stranding, here's a challenge. Sell me it. What makes this game worth my time? Love the new show. Welcome to Family, Brad." From Cormac in Ireland. Gene, to me, you're selling it right there. This packing simulator. It's about, to me, gameplay wise, it's about just making it to point A to point B, but the journey itself being the hook. Because even just going down a hill too steep can just ruin everything. And they did such a good job of when you fall down and BB starts crying and you see your packages go over, where you're like, fuck, man, I got to get this shit up right now. They make it so insane. It is like the most insane delivery service thing around.
Yeah, exactly. Because people are always asking, why is a baby strapped to your chest while you're doing this, right? Why? Yeah. And the answer is very, very simple and very crude. Because a baby crying is one of the most visceral and like anxiety-inducing sounds a human being can hear. And if you hear a baby cry, you're gonna get your ass moving to make sure that baby stops crying whatsoever. I feel like he made that decision just because of that. Just kind of have that visceral notion. Ben, what were you gonna say?
I just think that the gameplay mechanic there, that a lot of people don't realize, they're like, oh, it's a UPS simulator. And I understand that on its face, but the difference is, if you're playing a I don't know, SnowRunner or any of the sim games, it's like, well, okay, if you don't get there exactly right, it's not a big deal. You might lose a little money, whatever. But with Death Stranding, every time there's a mistake, every action you take, every time you fall down and BB starts crying, like, there is a consequence to not doing it right. And it's not just a consequence of, oh, I lost a package, so my reward isn't enough. It's, I'm going to be in sheer terror for a few moments.
Yeah, I feel bad.
Yeah, I feel bad. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I think that's the part that makes Death Stranding more significant than just a moving simulator.
Yeah. And it's not like falling down a hill is the worst thing that can happen to you in this game. There's people trying to murder you out there, and weird fucking gooey
No,
tar
they're not
monsters.
trying to murder you. They're trying to steal your packages and knock you out. Remember, no
That's
one's
great.
trying to murder each other in Death
Oh
Stranding.
yeah, that's right.
Which is
That's
really
right.
funny.
Well, taking the man's package might as well be murder to him.
Well, I mean, that's the funny thing about Death Stranding is that like this is an entire video game world where no one's trying to murder each other and actively trying to save each other. One of those guys was actually chasing me down the river, and I was running away with my package. And then I decided you have a bola gun that you can use to shoot at guys and wrap their legs around and make them fall. So I made this dude fall, and he fell flat first into the water. And I realized, oh my god, he's going to drown. And then so when a body dies in Death Stranding, it leaves an entire crater on the map. And I'm like, I don't want that on my map. So I dropped all my shit off the shore, and I went back into the water to rescue this guy to make sure that he doesn't die because I bullied his feet and he might have accidentally drowned. And I'm like, what is this video game where I'm just like dropping my baby or dropping all this shit off and then going back into the water to save the guy I just shot at, you know?
Yeah.
Like what an interesting video game experience that is in and of itself. And it's very sandboxy too, very like physics driven. You know, that it was completely not scripted event. It was just a story that I was telling as I was making this action
that happened
going, you know?
to you. Yeah. And I think some of the vehicles you get are really fun to help later on, like the motorcycle. Help you get through. It's like you can rely on these things for a lot of stuff, but you can't over rely on them for everything.
Yeah.
Because like sometimes you can't get up terrain with some of this type of stuff you have. And like you got your boots, you need to bring an extra pair of boots or something because your feet are going to get worn out. But I think one of the coolest aspects I loved about this game was the strand system or whatever, how it became a strand genre of other people out in the world leaving things for you or that you could interact with to help you with your adventure. Like I remember I was playing and one of my friends who was further than me, I saw he placed like a ladder down somewhere and like really helped me get past this like annoying part. I was like, dude, that is so cool. Or I see like people making the roads or whatever for you to ride your motorcycle on. Like, I love that kind of stuff.
I built the entire freeway system again in Death Stranding Director's Cut, you know, so I can just drive all around the map, you know, and it feels so rewarding. And then you also mentioned the toys. Think about all the cool gadgets that Solid Snake had over the years, right? Think about the kind of creativity and ingenuity it took for a game developer to make all those kind of toys and put them in a video game. Now apply that same kind of creativity to a game like Death Stranding. You know, you're gonna get Kojima toys and you're gonna get Kojima inventions as you're delivering stuff, and that just makes the game more fun. You get more gear to deliver stuff. You get zip lines. You get a jetpack. You know, in Director's Cut. So it just the game eventually will reward you with toys that makes the game a lot more fun, you know.
I didn't know you got a jetpack in Director's Cut. That's awesome.
Yeah. You get a little stability pack, so you can just literally just jump off an entire cliff and just hover down.
That's so nice. Wow.
And then you won't even get fall damage at all. It's amazing.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, that's
and
definitely
also it'll make your jumps higher too. So even if you just like if you're sprinting and jump, you can literally like leap across a fucking cliff with that jetpack. It's incredible. It's so fun.
How do you feel about the villains of the game? Mainly
like
Higgs.
Higgs.
Yeah, the threat, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like the threat is just like existential, like the threat of existential dread, you know. So I never really understood like I never really understood like the point of Higgs and
or I guess Mads
Troy
also.
Baker. Yeah, basically Troy Baker trolling you throughout. Yeah. You know, I'm definitely not prepared to talk about Death Stranding in like a philosophical way because
we don't have to go through that. I guess
I definitely didn't think about the game that deeply because I just really enjoyed the game as a thing. In terms of the villains, I like the fact that you have like little guys that are running around trying to smack you.
Stealing package.
It's cool that it's kind of Metal Gear 5 light, you know, where it's not a complete stealth game, but these guys are all around making sure that, you know, they're chasing you and making sure that your delivery isn't quite as peaceful because they're just trying to get your package and trying to bring it back. But it's also fun to be able to raid these camps because, you know, the only way you can, you know, have enough resources to build the roads that you get is that you're attacking these camps. So that's why I loved building the roads because building the roads turned the game into an action stealth game like Metal Gear, where I was like, okay, today it's my mission to go into these camps and just rob these guys of metals and whatever resources that I need, and I'm just like huffing it out of there with this big backpack full of stuff, so I can go back and build my road. And I just find that so fun that I'm just like harassing these guys for resources so I can build my freeway.
Yeah. The story, I don't recall a lot of it. I remember it being kind of confusing at a lot of parts, but one thing that really landed for me was the connection between Sam and BB. I think that is such an important part of that game, is just their relationship and how much it grows and how much I cared about those two, especially at the end of the game. I think Kojima killed it with that angle from it.
Yeah, for sure.
I can't wait to see what they'll do in 2 with like BB. If it is BB, I have no idea. Like all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. I really like the attachment, like you said, I think you allude to it, about the attachment between Sam and BB, because it's similar to the attachment that you have with yourself and Sam, because you want the best for Sam, and Sam is, quote unquote, a BB himself. You're taking care of him, you're making sure that he has the best shoes, you're making sure that he's peeing and pooing properly,
drinking Monster Energy.
It making sure that he's got his Monster Energy drinking and getting enough rest. And I think Tim Rogers said this, but I also thought this too, that Sam is basically like your little Tamagotchi,
Yeah.
Which is why it was so trippy when I went to the Death Stranding premiere and I saw Norman Reedus in front of me. And I was like, I was just you for like 80 hours. And I embodied your skin in a video game for 80 hours. And here you are in front of me talking like a normal person. It's so weird.
Yeah, that is crazy.
It felt like an out of body experience, like I was looking at myself,
Let's hear from David, who wrote in, "Hello, Summoners. I remember being ready to give up on finishing Death Stranding right in the middle, and then they switched it up and moved you to the Snow Mountains. What are some terrains you think might be good additions to spice up the gameplay in DS2? Lava? Swimming? Other obvious video game levels? Love having this new show on the roster." Yeah, different environments. Let's see. I think
no real
water.
sand biome in Death Stranding, that's for sure.
Yeah, that could be cool, like a desert. I think
no real
water
desert area. There's a part that looks like Mars, which fucking rocked. I love that whole section. But yeah, no real Arizona desert. No place that looks like Las Vegas or anything. That'd be fun.
I do want water. I think going underwater or something, delivering stuff underwater could be interesting. And because who knows what terrifying things they can throw down there.
Exactly, but also think about all the gadgets that you can get that'll just make your underwater swimming even better. Like imagine unlocking the 5-star underwater jetpack. Fuck yeah.
I think over or underwater would be fun, because it's underwater. Obviously, you guys have mentioned a few things, but overwater, you gotta build a boat, and then you gotta balance the boat, just like you gotta balance Sam. So
dude, the game just becomes fucking Zelda Tears of the Kingdom eventually. That's awesome. Dude, I want to play that game again now. Tears of the Kingdom.
I think like it's the United States, I guess, but like if you go to Hawaii or something for one of the things, and it's like all overrun with jungle or stuff like that.
Yeah.
That could be really cool. So like a tropical environment or something. But yeah, there's a lot. Yeah, Canada could be really cool.
Everyone's real nice up there.
Yeah.
Jeff Keighley will also be up there too.
Yeah, he'll show up again.
I actually never found Jeff Keighley up until this past month.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely remember Jeff Keighley was funny to see.
Yeah, no idea he was just right there in the first map. He was just kind of hidden away.
He's just there.
Yeah, he's just right there.
Full Metal McCoy wrote in, "Hey Brad, glad you're on the team. I played Death Stranding for the first time last year on my PS5 and loved it. What changes / additions would you like to see in DS2, and what should they keep the same? I could use a little more action. I feel like they could shorten the story a bit compared to the first two."
You know what? Well, the first two.
Additionally.
The first also. Okay, I got you.
Oh, the first as well, yeah. You know what? I hate to say it, but I could also use not even more action, but if they were able to create more camps and like in the director's cut, they have this little area that's reminiscent of Metal Gear,
Mm-hmm.
And I would love more sections like that are just a little bit more tailored, not just like, oh, here's a tent here and here's a tent there, and you just do whatever, right? It's just something a little bit more tailored.
I think that's
That'd
cool.
be fun. I don't know.
Yeah, like breaking into another like warehouse or like like a competitor's warehouse or something like that.
Exactly. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. A little thief action, for your delivery services,
I don't know about more action. And I know what you're saying, Gene, but I think a lot of people are like, it's boring. And I'm like, well, then you just, it's just, you don't like the game. That's fine. But you don't like the game because the game isn't supposed to be exciting per se. It is exciting in parts, but I think something that would be interesting is some additional sort of terraforming. And I know that part of the goal of the game is to navigate these different terrains, but if you could, you got to work for it obviously, but if you could make the terrain work for you or against other people, other entities, I think that would be interesting. Just adding in a completely different, not just like click a button and build a road, but like actually have to make the space what it needs to be for you to cross it or to help others cross it. Like, I think that would be interesting, adding a new feature. But then you're getting more into entirely different genre. But then again, it's Kojima, so he does what he wants. So
exactly, we have no idea whether Death Stranding 2 would even be the same type of game.
Exactly, yeah.
That's the issue here. I don't know. The multiplayer, if it was a little bit more tangible, maybe if you can just see one other person, that'd be interesting,
Right.
Out in the
Even
world.
if it's a Forza-esque type thing where you see like your
the
friends,
the ghosts of other Sams or whatever,
I think
or like a Demon Souls kind of thing, right?
I think playing as a different character at some parts could be interesting.
For sure.
I don't know if we're going to be Sam the whole time or if we even are going to be Sam.
It'd be nice to be like another tune, like even if it's not Sam. Like, dude, if you can create your own character, that'd be I would love to be able to be my own guy delivery person, in this world, fuck the story. I don't care about the story at all. Just give me another delivery game. That's fine. I love this shit.
Yeah, for story, make Higgs, I guess, a little more interesting if he's going to be the big villain.
I want Gene Park as an NPC in Death Stranding.
Oh yeah, me too. That'd be great.
Yeah.
Kojima kind of knows. He knows who you are, right? So that could happen.
He does. Yeah. He could scan me in.
You can deliver. You can deliver Gene cat food or something. For Jack.
I don't know. All right. So that's why I like Death Stranding. I just think of it as one big inventory management game. So if you think about all of America as one big inventory case, then you're basically putting. You're giving the cosplayer his cosplay gear. You're giving the film director his film stuff. It's really just putting stuff where they belong. That's the video game, and it feels good when you do that. Think about all the truckers. We're always talking about all the people who our blue collar listeners, right? The people who are delivering trucks and everything like that. Think about how satisfying it is for you to finish your job. It has to be satisfying in some kind of way.
Yeah.
So there is that in a video game with much lower stakes. You just have a baby crying,
Just baby crying and rain that turns you old.
Yeah.
All right. For the final segment of the show, we're just going to answer some questions. If you would like to send in a question, head on over to patreon.com/laststandmedia. $2 and up, you get to submit questions to this show and all of our other shows. And $5 and up gets you early access to this show, as well as Sacred Symbols, Defining Duke, Punching Up, all that good stuff. So we would greatly appreciate it if you support us over there. All right. First question is from Tyler. Hi, guys. I just want to let you know I dived into Liza P following the last episode's discussion. Strangely, I'm finding the bosses surprisingly easy compared to FromSoftware games. I just beat the King of Puppets on my second try.
Dude.
Do you guys think games like Dark Souls, Elden Ring, and Bloodborne provide some sort of training for future games? So I have insight into this. They did nerf a lot of bosses in Lies
They
of
did.
P
They
from
did.
when I reviewed it.
They did.
I was like, okay, right when I just beat all these hard ass bosses, they nerfed it. Cool.
Yeah.
But they did make it a little easier. And I absolutely do think if you've played Dark Souls or Elden Ring or Bloodborne, you've had some sort of training, if you will, for this moment to set you up for these kind of challenges.
Yeah.
What do you guys think? You guys agree with that? Kind of, they almost served as training.
It makes sense to me. I barely played Lies of P. I got distracted with something else, and I know there are certain parts of it that are Yeah, definitely, it's muscle memory to some extent, and they did such a good job at replicating Bloodborne that it only makes sense that it would be some kind of training.
I think they're absolute training. I think there's a lot of people who played Elden Ring, and that was their first Souls game because or that's the first game. It's either their first Souls game that they ever try, or their first Souls game that they really really try because it's the one that everyone loves. It's kind of like the Baldur's Gate 3 for CRPGs, right? And I think a lot of people loved it. And for those people who dropped out of Dark Souls and Bloodborne but did enjoy Elden Ring because you were able to push through it, go back to Dark Souls and Bloodborne, and you're going to find that you're going to have a much, much easier time. You're going to find Dark Souls 1 is going to be actually very, very easy for you after you played Elden Ring. Elden Ring is actually easier than Dark Souls 1 in some parts. But if you're able to push through even the first boss if you're able to push through Margit, and then you go back to Dark Souls 1, you're going to have a much much easier time getting.
I mean,
Dark Souls 1.
If you beat Elden Ring, you could pretty much get through all their games. I think you'll
easily,
be fine.
No problem.
Yeah,
you're going to have the easiest time. Maybe Sekiro is going to be the only one.
Maybe Sekiro will be the one
so
that you get in
different.
trouble.
Yeah, because it's so different. Because it is the only one that is definitely like not even an RPG. You have to be good at this game, you know. But yeah, I totally agree that it would be good training. And if you try one of these games, I had a buddy of mine who never played a Souls game, but he really wanted to play the Star Wars Jedi Survivor games, right, or Jedi Fallen Order. Did not realizing that those games are Souls games, and he thought Jedi Fallen Order was a terrible game because the animations were too slow, and every time he pressed a button, the Jedi would swing the lightsaber like a whole full second later. And I'm like, that is the genre. He is actually swinging it faster than any Souls character has ever done before.
Yeah.
He just thought it was garbage because it was all things that are indicators of what a Souls game was, you know, and he just never ever played a Souls game. And it's like, okay, well, you know, this might be their first time. So if you actually try to play Jedi Fallen Order, you might be a little bit better in Dark Souls when you come back to it.
Yeah.
Maybe, you know.
Yeah. All right. Question 2 is from Matthew Christ. Yo, Seaman Sign. So I've been thinking a lot recently about how whack Konami is for holding hostage to so many iconic and beloved IPs. Do you think they will ever make another Castlevania or MGS game, or will they rent out the rights to other devs to make them? And which dev do y'all think would be the most up to the task? Love the new show and keep being the best later. So what if they will make a new IP or new games again themselves, and who would we want to make some of their IPs?
I think we already said it for Konami, FromSoft.
FromSoft for Castlevania. Yeah. Metal Gear without anyone but Kojima is kind of weird to me. I don't know.
Yeah, because the only real good Metal Gear game we have is Metal Gear Rising, made by Platinum.
Yeah.
So that tells me that a good Metal Gear game is possible outside of Kojima, but you know, like you really, really got to get it though. Yeah.
Maybe just do Rising 2 or something.
Yeah, just do Rising 2. Just
I guess. Just do Rising 2.
Game, please.
But yeah,
I'm thinking more on the question of who, but the other question of will they make more? Whether they'll do it or somebody else will, I don't know. But like, there's no chance that they don't put out more of their games in one way or another because money talks. Like eventually they're going to do it. They have to at some point. Otherwise, I just feel like it's unfair to their board and everything else.
Yeah, I definitely think they will come out at some point. I feel like they won't be developing like big AAA games themselves. Well, actually, I don't recall who's doing Metal Gear Delta. I can't recall.
Yeah.
Because that's the one I'm curious about. But I feel like if Castlevania or whatever comes back, someone else would do it. Like Silent Hill 2 is being done by someone else. So that seems to be their trend right now. I think Contra was being done by Way Forward for the new one.
It says for Delta, it lists Konami as the developer.
Okay,
but
so
of
maybe
course, that doesn't mean it's Konami proper necessarily. But
yeah, that would be interesting if it is internal.
Yeah. It says the remake is a co-production between Konami and Virtuos.
Okay.
So they did the collection.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Next question. Alec Shaner. Welcome to LSM, Brad, and howdy, Gene and Ben. Way back in 1988, when I went to college and had no spare cash, I spent the next 4 years pouring hours into Contra and Tetris on my NES. Fast forward many years and consoles later, and I have that same NES hooked up to a dedicated TV that I still play Contra on a somewhat regular basis.
Love it.
Clearly, this is the greatest game ever made for me personally. Do you guys have a game or two from your younger years that you still play today? And do you think you will still be playing it in 10 or 20 years down the road? I still play a lot of old games every now and then. Like, I could boot up Super Mario World once a year easily and just play through that game.
Yeah, well, first of all, I want to let the writer know that they were entering college the same year I was born.
Yeah.
So you're welcome for that piece of information. But yeah, I think like
I wasn't even born yet.
Yeah. Super Mario, the original, obviously is like a cop-out answer. But if you want to go a little later into my like actual years of knowing more about video games, and I talk about this one all the time, but Duke Nukem 3D. I mean, I played the earlier ones, but that's one of those games that I played a ton back in like 96, 97. And I've probably played through the game at least once every year since then. And I don't see myself stopping. So that's definitely one there. That's a good possibility. And then now it's a little different since they remade it, but I played the original Crash Bandicoot when it came out, right around when it came out. And I don't know if I can play the original now. Although Dustin just got me a Japanese copy when he was in Japan. So maybe I'll have to check that one out at some point. But yeah, I could see that being a not just the franchise or the character, but that game specifically. But those aren't as old. I have a lot of other old games I'll still play, but those are ones that were like more formative games for me in my gaming taste, I guess.
Yeah. What about you, Gene?
Yeah, for me, I'm glad you brought up Duke Nukem because really the oldest game that I could still play no problem, and I do still play is Doom.
Yeah.
Where I will boot up Doom, I'll play it for like a few seconds, and I'll be like, well, I guess I'll just play this whole thing now. Doom is a game that I play at least once a year, but this question caught me off guard because like you would think that I would enjoy playing a lot of old games like Contra, like the gentleman does, but surprisingly, I don't even boot up old Mario games. I think, but Doom is the only game I think that is probably the oldest one that I would boot up easily. The games that I do boot up now and play over and over again are a little bit older, a little bit more recent, but they are two of them, and they're both very similar: Resident Evil 4 and Gears of War. And I appreciate the reader's appreciation for Contra because I always considered the Gears of War series as the modern like equivalent
Contra?
or like the modern evolution of Contra, basically, where it's just a bunch of bros going around shooting a bunch of aliens that are invading, and we're hitting the weak spot, and it's fucking awesome. And then we're playing co-op, that's it.
Yeah.
So I always felt like Gears of War was kind of Contra-ish. It's the number one reason why I have a Game Pass subscription still, because it's just a really easy way to just play the Gears of War trilogy over and over again.
Yeah. Definitely.
Nice.
This was back in 88. I was actually born. Just kidding. I got that wrong.
Yeah.
I was born in 87.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I was 7 years old, buddy.
Yeah.
I was probably playing Contra, but definitely not in college. That's crazy.
All right. Our final question from Pravada22. Sup, fellas? Do you feel like PlayStation is losing its Japanese shine? When I played the PS1 and PS2 as a kid, I remember seeing it as the premium Japanese brand with future technology. But now it's just another video game platform where I still see Nintendo as an experience. I think PlayStation is an extremely premium, still Japanese brand.
Yeah. And it still has probably the most amount of Japanese games outside of Nintendo.
It has an insane amount of Japanese game support still.
Yeah.
Even though their like first party isn't like super Japanese focused right now.
Right.
They still get a ton of Japanese games that other people don't.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think the issue is with the branding. Obviously the first party isn't very Japanese, because when you look at the branding, their most prominent characters are an old, 1,000-year-old Greek man and a dead 50-something-year-old white man. So those are it's Kratos and Joel are the main characters of PlayStation. They're very much not Japanese guys, So it's interesting, and then you get Spider-Man, I guess.
I guess Jin Sakai from Tsushima could be one.
Yeah.
There's that, but no one talks about Tsushima these days for some
Not
reason.
yet. I think when the sequel comes out, maybe.
I hope so. I can't wait for the sequel, for Christ's sake.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sucker Punch is so quiet.
I understand what the reader's saying, but when I see let's say Cloud, for example, to me, he's a PlayStation character.
Yeah.
Just because of the lineage and where he's at now. Like, obviously, he was in Smash and stuff, but, remakes, all PlayStation, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. I still associate all the, when Sega asked me which platform I wanted, like a Dragon Infinite Wealth on, I was like, well, PlayStation,
Right. Sure it belongs.
Yakuza also was a PlayStation series,
Yeah,
started on PS2. So I do think that there's not a lot of exclusivity in terms of PlayStation anymore, but I still consider and I still play all of my Japanese centric games on PlayStation. I just feel like playing Resident Evil or Yakuza on the Xbox makes no sense to me whatsoever, and that's Xbox's problem. Like I wish they branded themselves better to so I can think otherwise. But
yeah, because you play Sonic on Xbox, right?
I do play Sonic on Xbox only because it's Sonic the Hedgehog and no one gives a shit. So.
Okay.
It just feels weird for Sonic to be on PlayStation. That's all. Like I feel like Sonic the Hedgehog belongs everywhere else but PlayStation for some reason.
Yeah.
I told someone recently that Sonic's on everything, and they were like, what? That doesn't make sense to me. But
yeah.
I want to mention the point you said about like back in the day, whenever I was playing, I felt like it was a Japanese experience, whatever. And maybe that's true for that person. I don't feel like I felt that way. Like when I was a kid, and maybe I don't know the age of this writer, but when I was a kid, I was like, cool, there's games and they're on PlayStation, and maybe they're Japanese, maybe they're American, maybe they're whatever. But I don't know, 30 years ago, I don't think we were thinking about as much about like this console has this country's games and this console. I can be totally wrong, because again, I was a kid.
I was definitely thinking about it mostly because again, like I lived on Guam, so the import market for these games was pretty open and clear. So again, that's why I was able to get FF7 on Japanese.
Yeah, but I'm really boring and white, Gene. I didn't ever live on Guam.
Exactly. Yeah, if you're living in Butler, Pennsylvania, I don't think getting access
well, I wasn't
to the Japanese
then, but I am
FF7
now.
was very easy. So
yeah, Yeah.
It was already challenging back then too. But yeah. And then like games like Tekken and Battle Arena Toshinden, like games like that, and Jumping Flash, like games like that made me think PlayStation was like the more Japanese branding. But then also, to your point, it also had games like Wipeout and like Road Rash and all these other games. So
Jetmoto.
Early PlayStation definitely had a heavy European flavor too. Twisted Metal, obviously, with our friend David Jasper.
Siphon Filter.
So, Siphon Filter as well, very Bend Studio. So
yeah,
right.
If anything, PlayStation was very diverse, but it's been starting to lose kind of like its Japanese flavor over time.
Sure.
Yeah, I'd say from a first party standpoint,
definitely
the
for
most
the first
I
party
noticed.
standpoint.
Yeah. But I mean, with PlayStation, that's where or a lot of the RPGs were going. So that's where I went, kind of thing.
Right.
Yeah, I'm playing Granblue Fantasy on PlayStation 5 for sure. So.
I don't think it's even on Xbox.
Exactly.
No,
that's crazy.
I don't think it's there.
Sucks, man. That really sucks for Xbox fans. You're only getting Final Fantasy 14 now.
Yeah. Damn. Yeah, it sucks. At least a lot of them are on PC now. So if you have a PC, you can have a chance. But yeah. All right, boys. That's it. That's it for episode 3 of Summon Sign. We are finished. Before we go, though, do you boys have any final thoughts or anything you want to say, or should we just get the hell out of here?
I appreciate you having me.
I
appreciate being on.
It's great to have you both on here.
Sorry for my whatever's going on with my voice. It was fine before the show, and I got
Sea of Thieves.
Then I started crying about Sea of Thieves. So
yeah, it was so you're so hyped up. Sea of Thieves got you going.
Yeah.
Gene, wonderful to have you on here as always. Love talking to you guys about games.
On the 3rd episode of Summon Sign, again, this is a great program, and I'm really glad to see people are really understanding the difference between how we talk about games in our own shows versus here. I do feel like that it's a lot more free, and it's just nice. I think one person said it's nice to be able to hear Chris talk about games without Colin saying immediately, "Okay, Dustin, how about you?" Which is fine. Like those shows do need to keep moving, and which is again why a place like Summon Sign with Bradley Ellis here is so valuable.
Yeah,
that's summoning signs.
Yeah, it's the main point of the show is just for us to just talk about what we're playing, to cut loose a little bit, relax, and just chat about games.
Yeah,
because we're all a bunch of friends just playing games, and we want to talk about them with all you out there. But cool. That's going to do it for us, everybody. We will see you next episode, which will be next week. Until then, take care, everybody. So long. Summon Sign is a product of Last Stand Media and Colin's Last Stand LLC and is proudly recorded in the USA. The show is written and hosted by me, Brad Ellis. The show is produced by Dustin Furman. All of Last Stand's theme music is by Ramon Narvaez. Summon Sign, along with the rest of Last Stand's media shows, are fan-funded on Patreon at patreon.com/laststandmedia. The following names are at the producer level on Patreon, our highest tier, and we are grateful for your kind contribution and generosity to our independent endeavor. Thank you.